Stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting of Clifton Zoning Board of Adjustment. Pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Law, notice of the within meeting was published in the Record, the Herald News, and the Clifton Journal, and the annual notice on January 6, 2022. Copies of this agenda were mailed to the Record, the Herald News, and the Clifton Journal, and a copy of the agenda was filed in the city clerk and posted on the main bulletin board in City Hall 5 days prior to the date of this meeting. On all applications listed on the agenda, formal action may be taken. The within announcement shall be incorporated in the minutes of this meeting. All applicants are hereby advised that testimony taken before this board is being tape recorded. In the event of any applicant desires to take an appeal from the action of the board, the stenographic record of the proceedings is available and may be obtained through the office of the zoning officer upon payment of the required fee. Roll call, Mr. Bobrelli.
Commissioner Jaskol.
Here.
Commissioner Silva.
Here.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Here.
Commissioner Soshan.
Here.
Commissioner Molnar.
Here.
Commissioner DeStefano.
Here.
Commissioner Fukas.
Here.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Here.
Chairman Zucchino, absent. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
I'll go through the agenda tonight. When I call your name, please raise your hand. John Rader, 817-825 Clifton Ave, continued without date. Valley Estates, we have a letter. As you are aware, this office represents the applicant in connection with the application for the above referenced property. This letter shall serve as formal request to the applicant currently scheduled to be heard on December 7th, 2022, be carried to the regular scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment on February 1st, 2023, with no further notice to the public necessary. The applicant consents to any extension of time required for the board to hear and decide the application through February 28th, 2023. Should you have any questions regarding this matter or require any further information in connection with these requests, please do not hesitate to call Jason Travell. Walberry Properties, 1 and 9 Walnut Street, continued to January 18th, 2023. EMB 461 LLC, 561 Van Houten Ave, continued to January 18th, 2023. Clifton Ave Partners LLC, 833 Clifton Ave, also continued to January 18th, 2023. New hearings, please indicate you're here. John Fukas. Robert Vera, 7375 Fairmont Ave. Aaron Silverberg, 35 Ravona. Ali Emi, 478 Clifton Ave. Mashiva of Clifton, 294 Main Ave. First hearing will take John Fukas.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse myself.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself on rendering any legal opinions in this matter.
Okay, Commissioner Fukas will be recusing himself. Mr. Mileto was a planner? Testifying as a planner? Okay. Any interested parties to this application? Can you please sign in? We have
Yeah.
a pad for the objector.
Hi, Candace.
Any interested parties, please sign in. Mr. Trella, should we sign it, swear in?
Yeah, let's swear in the witnesses. Each of you just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Frank D. Miletto, M-I-L-E-O. My address is 14 Beaverbrook Drive, Long Valley, New Jersey.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Mr. Trella, please tell us what you'd like to do.
The application by Mr. Fukas for the expansion to a 5-unit building located at
Vice Chairman, can we have the microphone used, the handheld, please? Or that?
Just press the button, Mr. Trella. There you go.
That works a little better.
And if you could speak into the mic, that'd be appreciated.
This is the application of Mr. Fukas for the expansion to a five-unit building located at 339 Paget Avenue here in Clifton. I have Mr. Miletto here to testify as a planner and the architect for the building. Okay, Mr. Miletto.
And we've had Mr. Miletto in front of us many times. We'll accept his qualifications.
He's been here a few times.
More than once.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miletto, are you familiar with the application that is before the board this evening?
Let me do this. Yes. Hear me?
It might take a moment or two to turn on.
Yes?
Okay. now
Yes,
it's
better.
working.
Okay, it warmed up.
Mr. Miletto, are you familiar with the application that Mr. Fukas is bringing before the board this evening?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please explain to the board what he is seeking and all the elements of, including your opinion?
Okay. First of all, there is no expansion of the existing building. Existing building is going to be exactly the same size, height, width. There's a space in the lower level, ground floor, that Mr. Fukas would like to convert from what was built originally as an office for the manager of the building, I believe, and he'd like to produce one bedroom unit in that level for a total of 5 units. Now, that use in this zone is a conditional use. It's a D5 variance because it is, although it's permitted, which means it's a permitted use, it has conditions that it has to meet all of. Otherwise, it becomes partly a D1. The other reason for D1 use variance is that the density of 5 brings it slightly over the requirements under the ordinance for the that size piece of property. I'll follow the report from your planner if it's okay, because he was very thorough and explains it very nicely. So, and the first part of his project summary is that that exactly, that the D1 use is required because he did not meet the conditions of a D5 use. No expansion of the building footprint is proposed. All proposed work is within the structure of the building. The property encompasses 11,550 square feet and is located in the RB2 district. It's a multifamily district. If this was several buildings, it would be a permitted one because the garden apartments are permitted, but multifamily single-unit buildings are conditional use only. The property is a corner lot, intersection of Paget and 4th Street. Garden apartments are permitted use in the district, but garden apartments require a minimum of 2 buildings or more. In this case, though, because it is not more than one building, a D1 variance is required. The B2 district requires a minimum of 29,004 square feet per dwelling unit, and the 2,310 square feet dwelling unit is proposed. That's where we become a density issue. We're one few square feet over the permitted number of units for the square footage. The applicant is providing 10 off-street parking spaces in the existing parking area. They all are compliant with the residential site improvement standards, and we have no variance request for the off-street parking. The proposed apartment will be on the ground level. It's entered through Paget Avenue. There's a sidewalk shown on my site plan, that brings you from a sidewalk along Paget Avenue straight into the unit. There's a doorway right there at grade, which makes it perfect if in the event there's a need for a handicapped person. That'd be an ideal unit for them. Right now, though, that we don't have a need for a handicap, but it will comply if necessary. Follow the D1 variance proofs, and this is a D1, but it's not a Medici case because that required an amplified special reasons, and this case is not nearly. The Medici case was a hotel being built in a non-permitted zone. Benefit and general welfare is typically non-inherently beneficial use. This is not a hotel, a medical facility or a school or any the non-beneficial uses. However, it derives its use itself, but the development of the site in the community that is particularly suited for very enterprise proposed. Along Paget Avenue, there's several buildings like this that are built along Paget in the same neighborhood. This blends well with the existing uses that are there. It does not create any negative impacts whatsoever. So it's my opinion that this could be granted without substantial detriment to any of the surrounding area. The application should provide testimony as to the use of the existing office space. It's vacant. It's not, there's no office there. It's just a vacant open space, undeveloped. It's raw cinder block and raw flooring and windows. They would have to be, of course, improved. Access to the new apartment must be through the concrete walkway, which is shown on my plan. Right now, it's a stepping stone type of in the grass, but we will produce a concrete sidewalk from the sidewalk into the building. That condition will be met. There is no requirement for window wells. The windows are at the correct height for egress window in the bedroom is the one that's the main reason or the main unit that needs to be an egress window. And the sill of that window is less than 44 inches above the floor. It complies with an egress code required egress window. Construction documents and zoning permits will be required for the City of Clifton, of course, in the event of approval, and the applicant should discuss the proposed bedroom distribution of the dwellings to demonstrate, and then it's missing the off-street parking requirements, and it meets the off-street parking requirements. The units are 1- and 2-bedroom units.
Mr. Mileto,
That's
did
it.
you?
In a nutshell, there's really nothing else magic about it. There'd be no negative impacts, no noise, no commotion. It won't take anybody's sight or ventilation or
Mr. Mileto, did you see our planner's report?
that's the planner report.
Yes, can you just address a couple issues in there? The use of the existing office space,
There's nothing there now.
okay, how long was it an office space?
I'm sorry?
How long was it an office space, and what's the
It was
purpose?
never, it was planned as one
Okay, so what's
when
it,
it was built, but they never completed it, just stopped at that point, as I spoke to the family of the builder and the Tolleys. And that was built as an office for the manager of the building, but they never completed it. There's plumbing there, there's heat there, there's windows and doors, but they never completed it. It's raw concrete block. So this would all have to be interior decorated, sheetrock and painted and flooring to make it habitable.
okay.
That's
Any-
it.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner DeStefano?
So Mr. Mileto, right now, it's unoccupied, unfinished room down there, right?
Correct.
What's it been used for now, like the past years?
There's currently there's an oil tank will have to be removed, for the heat, and that'll be relocated into the other part of the basement. And nothing else. It's open space, no storage even there.
Is
because
the
they
furnace
have-
and hot water heater and everything down there for the other units?
That, whatever mechanical equipment is in that room has to be removed, of course, and placed on the other side of the wall where there's an existing mechanical room and existing storage to the left of the space.
Okay, and what's proposed there now is a one-bedroom apartment with a kitchen, dining area, living room. It says existing laundry and then existing storage, correct?
Right. They have a facility for laundry in that existing area where it says existing laundry. That's for all of the other units to use as well.
Correct. And then there's an existing, it looks like stairwell to get down there?
I'm sorry.
An existing stairwell to get down there? That's where the other people from the units go down that stairwell?
That's for the rest of the
Correct.
apartments, yes.
Okay. So basically, it's half the downstairs is looking to be a one-bedroom apartment, and the other side is like utility area and
Correct.
storage. Okay. Thank you.
And that's their second way out also. They have two ways out that way. They got the front door along Paget Avenue, but if they exit that way, they can get to the stairway, which will take them out the other level, the front.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner, yes.
I have a few questions. The first question is, where is all this equipment going to be placed? So if it was always in this area, how are we going to be certain where all of this goes, especially if you said there was an oil tank in that space?
I'm sorry?
I didn't understand the question, I'm sorry.
Where will the oil tank go?
Oh, we're going to move it to the mechanical equipment room,
Okay. And what's in the mechanical equipment room right now?
right? You did it already.
I think the testimony was that the oil tank will be moved into what we're going to call the existing mechanical room.
Right.
What's in the existing mechanical room now? Because
It's big
this is an
enough.
oil tank to service 4 or 5 units, so I'm certain it's a pretty large oil tank.
I guess, Mr. Mileto, it
the
seems
room
like the
is
question is, with
Mr.
equipment
Fuchs
being
may have an answer to that. He's been sworn.
with the equipment being displaced, where does it go, and how does that affect the other room? But
Yeah, how big is the oil tank, by the way? Absolutely.
He knows all the statistics on it. I don't know the size of it.
Commissioner, I'd like to explain to you everything. I know what you are looking for. The basement is about, it's quite large, the basement. The whole existing building, that's a basement. So now 3/4 of the basement is used. There's one room there where there was the heating system, oil, and they had 2 tanks into the proposed one-bedroom apartment. So I removed the oil tanks and I put gas recently. So there was a room there where the oil tank, where the oil unit was there. So we removed the existing oil unit and we put the heating system there. So there was already a room there. In the remaining of the basement, we have washer and dryer for the 4 units. And they have their own, and it's a large type. It's a large basement there, and the other 1/3 of the room, that's a ground level. That's a proposed to put a 1-bedroom apartment, for my grandson, and this way, I'm getting up in age, and he can take care of it too, the building. And of course, according to the report for the planner, they want a walkway from Paget Avenue going into the ground floor for the apartment. But they want, now it's grass, they want sidewalk, we're willing to do that, no problem. And that's what I can tell you.
Thank you. I have just a few more questions. The next question is with regards to the topography and the fact that what I'm seeing here, it says that it's a ground level, but in the actual application, it's showing that it's a cellar level, I believe.
I'm sorry?
You see?
The application says here, it says lower level space, and on the actual agenda, it says ground level. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding for me and the rest of the board here, exactly, are there steps? I may have missed this in the testimony and in some of the documentation, but if you could just give some more information, some clarity on if this is ground or below ground.
I can have
Through the
Mr.
chair.
Mileto answer your questions.
Yes, Mr. Graziano.
There's a nice picture of that entrance in the review, in the planning review letter. That might put it in a little better perspective for you.
It's on page 3 of the planning report.
Okay, I'll take a look. Then the final question is that this building, yeah, I see the picture, just, so I can't tell exactly, are there stairs there going down?
No, there are no stairs. It actually looks like the sidewalk has been overgrown with grass, so there would be a sidewalk leading to that door from Paget Avenue.
So it is ground level.
There is a little bit of a grade situation there, but you wouldn't walk there from the ground to get to that door without any steps. Because there's a retaining wall that goes up against the sidewalk that would lead to that door.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner DeStefano?
Mr. Fukas, how long have you owned this building for?
About a year. About a year, and I decided to, there are 4 families, I have 3 single people. They're occupied, the 3 apartments, and there are two gentlemen that they share the one apartment. So there are about 5 people there, the whole building.
Okay.
So I decided to finish the basement, the ground floor, to have one studio apartment for my grandson, so he can take care of the building also.
Okay, so
That's my plan.
okay, so I guess the hardship, what I'm looking for is you just bought the building a year ago, and now with this empty basement, now you're looking to make a studio for your grandson?
Mr. Chairman, it's not a basement, it's a ground floor.
it's considered a,
I mean,
storage
yeah.
basement, that's what we're looking at here, So it says, the unit ground level, okay, I'll give you ground level, but, that's the hardship, correct?
The ground level?
No. Why are you putting this other unit in here? Give us the board the hardship, why you need to...
Well, that's why I'm here before the board. I mean, I want to put, one a small apartment, a studio apartment for my grandson. Simple as that.
For your grandson, right? That's what you're saying?
For my grandson.
Okay.
For my grandson, right.
Okay.
He's
Right.
26 years old.
He's what?
He's 26 years old.
Okay. And he's got where's he living now? I mean, so
He
there's...
lives home, but he wants
Okay,
his own
so he
place.
wants to get out, he
But-
wants his
but
own
he-
place.
But he wants his own place. That's the bottom line.
So I'm just trying to figure out why now you're coming here after a year of buying it, I'm looking for the hardship.
Through the chair. The applicant does either need to demonstrate hardship or, in the alternative, provide testimony why this building is particularly suited for the proposed use, which is before the board this evening.
Right, that's what
The
we're trying
applicant,
to figure
you've
out.
said your hardship is you need room for your grandson, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
For the family.
Mr. Chairman?
And if you want to stipulate that, you can
yes,
stipulate that.
Mr.
There's no
yes.
So
problem.
is this a financial hardship, solely a financial hardship?
Financial, I just want to, the family, for family use, you can stipulate that, for family use only. It doesn't matter to me.
I think Mr. Mileto can testify to that aspect.
Yeah, Hold on one second, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, just, Mr. Fukas, see, the board can't stipulate that. How do we enforce that? That it's just going to be for your grandson? That's what we're trying to figure out here.
I didn't understand the question there.
Let me just finish with the testimony.
Let me speak, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the board can't stipulate that we can just rent it to your grandson.
Well-
We can't enforce that.
Well,
That's the
I
thing
know-
I'm just trying to
well,
say.
that's
So
what-
now what we have to look at here is, okay, your grandson gets married, he moves out, now we have another apartment down there. So is it for financial gain?
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Very true.
Okay, the applicant stipulated, or the applicant testified it's for his grandson. Mr. Mileto?
The hardship we have here, first of all, the topography on this piece of property slopes from the east, I'll call it, down to Paget Avenue. So that grading allows us to have an exposed area for an off-street, which is particularly suited for an an apartment house unit to be placed there. The plumbing is there. The existing plumbing is all there. The only deficiency that creates the use variance is the fact, the density, is the fact that we're about 400 square feet short of the minimum requirement. Only 400 square feet is a 200 by 200 area. It's not a real large area. So it makes sense to use the property to its highest and best use. This would do that. This would improve it. You're absolutely right. The fact that the nephew is going to move in, that's temporary. This is permanent. It's a permanent application, no question about that. And I didn't try to tell him that, but he decided to let us know who he had built this for. But that's not a good enough zoning reason. As far as a special reason, it's existing. There's no necessary major work to be done. As you can see, there's 4 windows along the one side, that's the north side of the house, the south side rather, and then there's 3 windows on the other side, which is the north side. There's plenty of windows in the unit. It's ready to be just finished. That's all there is to it. Where the kitchen lays out is there's plumbing existing there now. The bedroom is already there. The walls are up. The bathroom is already there. It's already been no fixtures, but it's all roughed in for what would be necessary for a toilet. So it's particularly suited, this building, and this use for the space. Otherwise, it's going to be for no reason. The other answer I'd like to clarify too is the oil tank size. This desk is about the size of the oil tank that was there. This is how big it is, 500 gallon or whatever. But this is the size of the unit of the tank that's going to be moved out of that area. As I said, there's no reason. He's spoken to all the neighbors in the area. And matter of fact, I think there's 2 here now tonight that will be hopefully testifying in favor of the application and no objections to it. They're directly affected in the neighborhood by this use of this building. The off-the-street parking is provided. We have a handicap spot on the site. There's no negative impact whatsoever. And it won't require much to do. It's just to finish the unit off. That's all I have. Thank you.
Vice Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Molnar.
Mr. Mileto, just to clarify, I thought Mr. Fugas just said he switched over to gas. There's still oil? What is the building being heated by? I heard him talk about a gas connection.
That may have been converted unbeknownst to me. He's got gas in the building. Their units are gas-fired, some of them.
What I'm asking is this existing tank, is it necessary? Or is it just going to be removed? That's what I'm
It's going to be
asking.
removed off the site because it's
all
not
right,
needed
because
anymore.
originally you said it's getting
Well,
put
I
into the
didn't know
storage room.
I didn't know it was converted to gas. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I just want to get the
There's
final
no
answer
detail
here.
that didn't matter zoning-wise if it's gas or oil. So I didn't investigate it far enough.
So, Mr. Trello,
I
what's the
think-
final answer?
Gas.
Okay, so the oil tank is just going to get removed?
Gone. If it's not
Gone.
already gone.
Garbage.
All right, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Vice Chairman.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Jaskell.
I'm not sure who this question is directed at, maybe to Graviano. Is this a basement or is it not? Like, based on this gradient? Because to me, that's a very important piece.
I believe this is not a basement, is that accurate?
I can answer that.
Okay.
I think that Mr.
And-
Mileto would like to,
It is not a basement. By code, has to be more than halfway in the ground. It's not.
Any other questions from the board? Objectors or interested parties? Questions for Mr. Mileto? Please state your name and address, and we'll have Mr. Pogorelic swear you in.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ed Welsh, W-E-L-S-H, 159 West 2nd Street, Clifton, New Jersey. Mr. Mileto.
Just, Mr. Welsh, I'll swear you in. Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mileto, you had testified that there's 10 parking spaces. Is that proposed, or are they there now?
It's proposed. We are adding 2 spaces by removing a piece of the grass along the eastern end of the building
So.
and allowing 2 more cars to be parallel parked.
So it's existing, there's 8.
There's 8.
You're gonna add 2. You're gonna remove the grass and make 2 more spaces, some more non-pervious
Correct.
surface, okay? Because I think that's important, you know, number one. Number two, we talked about the basement, the ground level. At one point, would you say that, say that it was a basement more because the right-hand corner has a windowless basement, a windowless window? The basement, you know, the one in the corner? You have the small window, all right? It's called windowless, correct?
No, they're all the same size windows.
You know where the 2 parking spaces are?
Oh, on that end of the building?
That end of the building.
Yeah, that's the basement part of it. That is considered basement, absolutely. What I'm talking about is the space that we are
That,
proposing.
the part I'm
unit.
talking about is considered a
Mr.
basement.
Welsh, Mr. Mileto was answering the question. Please
Go
let
ahead.
him finish.
Okay,
Yeah, the basement is that half of the building that's utilized for the laundry, storage, mechanical equipment, and the stairway from the front door. That's what's in that space. That's all below the grade not completely, but below grade. From that point west, down toward our unit, the slope of the property drops down. The windows are not covered. They don't require window wells. They're at grade
So,
for egress.
okay, so the part that is called basement, that part was where the windowless window is?
The one where the basement is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning that a firefighter can't fit through the window to fight a fire. That's why they call it windowless,
They're going
correct?
to walk through the doorway, the front door.
But then the other half is all above grade. Because of the topography, it's above grade. Okay, so it's 50/50 or 60/40 basement,
Okay.
ground level, correct?
Yeah.
We're expanding the parking spaces. When you go into the parking lot, is it going to be to the left? How far will those
To the
spaces
right.
be?
They're against the end of the building.
How far from the property line? Will they be too close within the property line?
No, they're not.
Can I see that,
They're
Frank?
they're the furthest parking spots. These are the two spots right here. This was small piece of grass. And that we removed that, moved the wall back, and we put 2 more cars there.
Where's the handicap?
Right here.
So you have 9 spaces and a handicap.
10, yeah, 10
spaces.
spaces, right.
I don't know if the most, I think that where you're proposing the parking, those 2 extra cars, I think that they will be quickly swallowed up with snow removal. Because I don't think it's the best place for the spots. But that being said, I think, in my personal opinion, I think this is an overuse of the property. Mr. Fukas has purchased the property.
Mr. Welsh, at this point, we'll give you time
Oh,
to
just-
give a close,
just-
just questions to Mr. Mileto.
So I think the parking spaces could be in a better spot instead of parallel to the building. When you're parallel to the building, how do you get somebody out of the door? How do you exit that car door if you're a passenger?
How do you what?
How do you exit the car door? If you're a passenger, it's parallel to the building. The answer is you can't.
You get out before they
All
park the
right?
car.
With snow removal, it's going to be an issue. You're going to have a problem. Okay, so that's all I have for Mr. Mileto, and we'll have an opportunity to come
And
back.
we'll give you a chance to speak again.
Well, as far as access.
Chairman?
Yes.
Chairman?
Commissioner Silva, yeah.
Where will be the garbage?
They do indoors. They keep it indoors.
I didn't understand what you said.
What?
Mr. Mileto, speak into the microphone, please.
You don't hear me? Now you hear me?
Now I do.
Okay. It's kept indoors in that end of the building that's physically for storage and mechanical equipment and so on.
So they're going to keep their garbage in their apartment?
Some of it's kept there until they pour it down the basement if it's overflowing. But that's a matter of policing and having it picked up often enough that you don't accumulate it and don't need a dumpster on site. It's only 5 families.
5 families, and we don't need a dumpster. Just going to leave it, and then what do we do?
They're gonna
Just put it
store-
outside for the city?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner DeStefano.
Mr. Graviano, is there anything with garbage there? Do they need a dumpster or anything there? Like to store the garbage? I never heard of someone storing, for a 4-family to a 5-family storing garbage inside. Is there something for that?
Excuse me. I make a comment in the review letter, it's certainly been, the policy of this board to have applicants provide adequate refuse corral facilities on site in a durable material. So I think it's certainly something that the board could address, with this application.
Mr. Graviano, is there anything else you'd like to add regarding the testimony, Mr. Mileto?
Yeah, I certainly think in this case, it's up to the board to see if Mr. Mileto's testimony helped advance the positive and negative criteria for for the D1 variances with respect to, here the proof is there a substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance? Does this additional apartment create a substantial impairment? Additionally, is there a substantial detriment to the public good that is created by this apartment? I think the previous testimony touched on the D5 variance in terms, in that case, it's whether or not the site can accommodate the additional units. The applicant's testimony stated that it provides adequate parking. So the board would have to determine if there are any other detrimental effects by the increased density of the site as well. So the applicant's requesting a D1 use because the RB2 permits garden apartments. The trigger for garden apartments is 2 buildings. There's only 1. Additionally, with respect to the density variance, the code requires, let me just double check that number in my letter. The code requires 2,904 square feet per dwelling, and the applicant is proposing 2,310 square feet per dwelling. So it's a 600 square feet per dwelling deficiency.
Thank you. Did we have any other interested parties before we go forward? No other interested parties? One, please come up here. If you would go to the microphone, please state your name and address, and Mr. Pogorelic will swear you in.
Lynn Faber, 114 Barclay.
Speak it to the microphone, please.
Lynn Faber, 114 Barclay Ave.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions for the planner, now would be the time to ask.
No, I don't, but I live in the same house for 43 years, and my backyard faces their
So if-
driveway and like the parking lot, and really, it's always empty. Most
Okay,
of the
if you would like to make a closing statement, at the end, we'll allow you to do that, but at this moment, it's questions for the planner.
Oh, okay, but I
Okay.
really don't see no problem.
Okay.
As far as having it as another extra apartment.
We'll take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trella?
That's our case. That's our case. I believe that we have definitely, Mr. Mileto's testimony and a little bit of testimony by Mr. Fukas have definitely satisfied the criteria for the variances which are requested. I believe that we have shown that there is no negative impact and that there is definitely a positive impact by the increase in 1 more apartment. And I would most respectfully request that the board grant this variance.
And the other interested party, if you want to make a closing statement, now would be your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In my opinion, I don't think the negative and positive criteria has been met. I think it's an overuse of the property. Mr. Fukas had the property, he's less than a year old, buyer beware. He should have bought the property subject to board approval if his intention was, and I can assure you that's his intention. But one concern I do have, Mr. Chairman, and I don't mean this to delay the action of the board, but when I was at the property last Friday, I went over to the property, I ran into a neighbor that had said
I'm going to object to anything that the neighbor says. That's absolutely.
Yeah, if there's something...
Okay, so hearsay, I
Okay,
understand.
If there's something a neighbor said, then the neighbor could be here. But if you want to
As a result of
share your observations.
As a result of my conversation, of an observation, I was going to Oprah, the original plan, to see if that was, the bottom floor was a condition in which, of approval, that it would not be used. But they told me there's no way that I could Oprah it and have it for tonight's meeting. So that being said, if the board felt that they'd like to see what those results is, I'd be happy to Oprah it tomorrow and incur the expense myself and get that information for the board if they were interested in that. But that being said, I believe it's an overuse of the property. Mr. Fukas was aware of what was there before, and I think the board should act accordingly. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. Have a great holiday, everyone.
Thank you. And Ms. Faber, if you'd like to say something, or if you've already shared with us your opinion, now is the time, if you'd like to say something else.
I'm sorry, were you speaking to me? Oh,
Interested party. If you'd like to say something now, it's,
Well, I've been in the same house for 43 years, and the parking lot faces my backyard, and there's hardly ever any cars in it except maybe 3. And the apartment building's been so quiet for 43 years that I have no problem with having his grandson live there. Yeah, so.
thank you. Anything else, Mr. Trello?
I think the board has heard it all. Now it's
Okay.
time for the board to take its action.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner DeStefano.
I want to thank the applicant and the applicants for objectors for coming out here. It's well said. The applicant bought this property as a 4-family. Adding a 5th family would be, an overuse. There was no proposal for the garbage, as mentioned in Mr. Graviano's report. The hardship here is, okay, the grandson can live there for a little while, but eventually it's going to be rented out, and gained for profit. The board can't look at that as, a hardship, so I'll make a motion to deny, Mr. Chairman.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Molnar. Roll call, please.
This is a motion to deny the application at hand. Commissioner Jaskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Silva?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurkoff?
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan?
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar?
Yes, this, it's an overuse of the property. Sticking those 2 cars to get 10 spots makes no sense. I believe also there'd be a problem with snow removal. Yes, deny.
Commissioner DeStefano?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello?
I don't think we heard adequate hardship, and certainly the positive criteria wasn't met, so yes to deny.
7 affirmative votes, the motion carries, and the application is denied.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next application, Robert Vera, 7375 Fairmont Ave. Please step forward.
Please state your full name and address, please.
Sure, my name is Robert Vera. I'm at 73 Fairmount Avenue in Clifton.
Please raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Any interested parties to this application? Mr. Vera, please tell us what you'd like to do.
Actually, I have like a small screened-in back porch that's collapsing, and we actually tried to get it done like before COVID and knock it down and just replace it. But since COVID, we couldn't get anybody to do it. Now we just started again. Yeah, we just started again to try to get it done, and we got a permit, and they said we couldn't do it, but I think it's only like a small porch. It's, a deck that we're just going to replace the porch, and it's the same height and everything. So I was hoping, to get it done. I don't know what else to say. It's collapsing. We have to replace it.
I'm sorry, but just for the record, Commissioner Fukas is back on the dais. Okay, so the proposed setback is 25 feet where 35 feet is required, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, your setback, you missed the setback by 10 feet, is why you're here.
Right, correct. Yeah, that's what they told us.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if there are no further questions from the board, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
We have a motion to approve from.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Gurkoff. And a second from.
Me.
By Commissioner Silva. Roll call?
This is a motion to approve the application at hand. Commissioner Silva?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurkoff?
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan,
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar,
Yes.
Commissioner DeStefano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fucus,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
7 affirmative votes, the motion carries and the application is granted.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next application, Aaron Silverberg, 35 Ravona Street.
Okay. My name
Please
is
state your
Stephen
name.
Carosa. I'm the architect of record. The firm name is Stephen V. Carosa Architect, Riverdale, New Jersey. The address is 62 Newark Pompton Turnpike, Riverdale, New Jersey.
You'll be testifying as an architect?
Yes, I will. I'm the
Been in front of us
architect of
before, right?
Many
Yes,
times before
okay.
this body, yes. Aaron Silverberg.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, if you both raise your right hands, I'll swear you in. In this matter, pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please
Okay,
tell
I'll
us what
start
you'd like
with
to do.
a brief description of the project and the conditions. What we have before us is an existing lot. It's an oversized lot on Ravona Street in the R3A zone. The current dwelling is a split-level dwelling. It meets all of the criteria except for the dual side yards. Both side yards criteria are currently non-conforming, but the single side yards are fully conforming. This is the existing conditions. What we propose to do on this split-level dwelling is to add an upper level onto the lower portion, which we would call the main level of the split, which has the living room, dining room. We're going to go over that with a bedroom addition. There's also a small screen porch in the rear of the building, which is somewhat dilapidated. We propose to take that down entirely and extend the kitchen out in that area. So there's a ground level addition as well to this project. The project triggers 2 variances. One is the continuation of that dual side yard, because we're now increasing the nonconformity by putting more bulk on top of the left side of the house, which is in violation of the dual side yard. So that's the first variance. The second variance is a rather small excess of building coverage. The existing building coverage is at 24%. We propose 28.2, and the requirement is 27. So we're over by 1.2%. We consider it rather de minimis, but nevertheless, we're here. This is the way the project needs to be designed, and part of it involves a roof over the front stoop, creating an open portico, and in fact, that roof would make the difference of the 1.2%. Otherwise, the project would be fully conforming in that respect. So we feel that the application does a good job of making the best use of space on the lot, puts the additional area in the rear where it's not visible, and the rest of the new area is going over the existing dwelling. So we're not increasing dimensionally the side yard, the dual side yard issue. And the appearance of the building is rather nice, so it's not looking like it's overbuilt from a streetscape point of view. So we feel we meet both the positive and negative criteria by proposing a project of this nature. I invite any questions.
Any questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Sosano.
you're showing a staircase going down on the left-hand side.
Yes.
Beyond the building. That doesn't go into your setback too?
Yes, but it doesn't count toward building. That stair is a ground structure, so by definition, it's not a building. We have no roof over it.
Okay, because we don't look favorably upon entrances into the basement, especially one that could look like it almost be an apartment down there.
Oh, well, that's certainly not the intent. This is for storage. And we didn't want to put it in the rear because we didn't want to eat up all that beautiful backyard. So I'm not sure where to go with that to make it more acceptable to you.
Would you even consider taking that staircase out?
Let's ask.
That's the only holdup, yes.
We'd be willing to take it out, yes.
You'd be willing to alter the plans to take it out?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any interested parties to this application? Seeing none, any other questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application, subject that they remove the staircase into the basement.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the application with the stipulation of removing
Staircase.
staircase. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Molnar. Roll call, please.
This is a motion to approve the application at hand. Commissioner Jaskol? You're voting, Commissioner Jaskol, because Commissioner Gurkov indicated to me that he had to recuse himself on this.
Okay, yes, to approve.
Commissioner Silva?
Yes to approve.
Commissioner Soshan?
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar?
This very nice set of drawings. The existing non-conforming is there. You're not expanding on it, and the minor bulk coverage is yes to approve.
Commissioner Molnar?
I said yes to approve.
Commissioner DeStefano?
A nice rendering, yes to approve.
Commissioner Fukas?
I got to say, expanding a split level and making it aesthetically pleasing is tough. You did a great job. This is a beautiful rendering, and I make a motion to approve it with the stipulation.
Thank you, sir.
Vice Chairman Scorziello?
Agreed. Nice plan. Yes to approve.
7 affirmative votes, the motion carries, and the application is granted.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Next application, Ali Alami, 478 Clifton Ave. Please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioners.
Evening. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Ali Alami, 17 Alba Place, Parsippany, New Jersey.
Please raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
The truth.
Thank you.
Please tell us what you'd like to do.
My name is Ali Alami. Grew up in city of Clifton in the 90s, and I worked in city of Clifton the last 3 years in 795 Clifton Avenue as a branch manager for a mortgage company. In September, my branch was closed down because the tenant wanted to terminate the lease, so I moved to Montclair. I would like to come back to Clifton, so I purchased the property 478 Clifton Avenue. Currently, it's a rundown property, mixed use. I'm sorry, it's not a mixed use, but it's a two-family house, 2-bedroom on the first floor, 2-bedroom on the second floor. I like to make the usage of the property on the first floor as an office. I'd like to put my office in there as a mortgage company for the next 20 years before I retire. And the reason I'm here is because of it's residential, changing it to a mixed-use property.
Okay, so you're here for mixed use. Currently, you have 2 apartments there?
2 apartments, yes, sir.
And
First
you-
floor is a 2-bedroom, and the second floor is a 2-bedroom.
Okay, and you...
Half a basement unfinished, and the attic is unfinished.
And you'd like to turn this into 1 apartment upstairs and your office downstairs?
Upstairs will stay the same, will be apartment, and the first floor will be just an office. Right now, my business and the mortgage business, since COVID, 95% of the business are paperless. Clients, they don't come to the office. So once in a while, like in the last month or 2, maybe I met 1 client, but because of my licensing requirement and FHA and conventional, they require a commercial space location.
Mr. Chairman?
From the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner.
Do you have any employees that will be coming to the office?
I have 2 employees that works for my branch, but they work at a Florida office.
Florida, you said?
Yeah, Florida.
Oh, so nobody, it
I'm
just
the
you-
only one that will work by appointments in this location.
And I'm assuming if it's a mortgage company, there's only one
My corporate
person
office,
coming at a
my
time.
corporate office is in Melville, New York, and so all the work is being done at the corporate level.
So if someone does come, it's not only going to be one client at a time. There's never going to be multiple individuals coming to the office.
No, it's just by appointments only for client, but most of the work's being done is through internet and emails.
Thank you.
It's just because of the licensing, the state of New Jersey requires to have a physical office. I can't do it at my resident, unfortunately. It's just not allowed.
Any other questions by the board? Can you tell us what your hours of operation will be? How many days a week?
By appointments only, it's Monday to Friday. Usually I start my day at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's what I did at 795 Clifton Avenue. I was renting a second floor, about 250 square feet of office space. So I work from 10 to 4. Sometimes I stay a little bit late because so I don't hit the traffic going home.
Weekends?
Weekends I don't work.
Okay.
Unless if I do open houses, but the office isn't open, that's being done at the customers' open houses and stuff. But this will be a good office for the city of Clifton because there's not a small mortgage companies that service this area. And since I grew up in Clifton, it's a great city, and I have a lot of attachments and stuff in Clifton.
Yes, Commissioner Gurkoff.
I mean, I don't have a question. I was going to make a motion, but if there are further questions.
Before we go any further, any interested parties to this application? No interested parties? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application. I think, I understand the hardship and the fact that it's just basically an office because it's required, but it's going to be very light use. And I understand that and appreciate that, so I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Soshin. Roll call, please.
This is a motion to approve the application. Commissioner Silva,
Yes, to approve.
Commissioner Gurkoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan,
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
This applicant fits the bill perfectly, being a single use, but it's the motion goes with the property. So if this applicant moves out, we have an office space that could be used by more than that person. Although, even saying that part of Clifton Avenue, there's many of the buildings have been changed to residential mixed use. I'm voting yes.
Commissioner DeStefano,
Yeah, this is no different from what's there now, this mixed use here with the office on the bottom and the apartments on the top. Yes, to approve.
Commissioner Fukas,
Yeah, 50 years ago, Clifton Avenue was all residential, and throughout the years, they've become doctors like yourself. Some came back and made them both residential, so it's conforming with what's there, so I'll vote yes. And lots of luck.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes, the mixed use works.
7 affirmative votes, the motion carries and the application is granted.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Have a nice evening.
We'll take a 5-minute recess before we go on to the next application. Let's reconvene. Siva of Clifton, 294 Main Ave, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Henry Valentovich, 1035 Route 46, Clifton, New Jersey. I have 5 witnesses. Their testimony will not be repetitive. They'll be summarized, so we're not going to drag this out to elaborate on points that are not relevant. I have an architect, an engineer, a traffic engineer, a planner, and of course, Rabbi Haberstadt is here.
Please speak into the mic. I would actually start from the beginning because I don't think any of this got picked up.
Yeah, please, speak into the microphone, pull it a little closer, and just if you don't mind, just repeat.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, Henry Valentovich, Celentano Stamm, Mara, Clifton, New Jersey. We've brought 5 witnesses, an architect, an engineer, a traffic engineer, a planner, and Rabbi Haberstadt is here to answer questions as they may come up. Our testimony will not be duplicative. It will not elaborate on points that are not relevant. I think we'll go through the testimony, and I don't think, unless there are a lot of questions, I don't think this will be belabored.
Okay, let's get everyone's name, address, and swear them in.
Sure.
You want to bring everyone up? We'll do all at the same time.
Frank?
And when you state your name and address for the record, just please speak into the microphone.
Is this microphone live?
No. Give it to me.
Okay, my name is Richard Bienenfeld. I'm the architect for the project. My address is 271 North Avenue, New Rochelle, New York.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Arthur Kuyan, project manager at Stonefield Engineering Design, located at 92 Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey.
John Korak with Stonefield Engineering and Design, traffic engineer. Our address is also 92 Park Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey.
Frank Miletto, I'm going to be the planner in this matter, 14 Beaverbrook Drive, Long Valley, New Jersey.
Rabbi Moshe Halberstadt, 36 Barry Place, Passaic, New Jersey. I'm the dean and director of the school.
Okay, gentlemen, you all can rise and raise your right hand and I'll affirm you. In this matter, pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do so
Thank you.
affirm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I'm going to ask you to stand here.
We'll be starting with the architect. If you just, can you give us his qualifications, please?
Yes, Mr. Benenfeld, can you give us a short summary of your background?
Okay, I'm a registered and licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. My office is in New Rochelle, New York. I was educated at Syracuse University, graduated with a master's degree in 1971.
You've been in front of planning boards, municipalities before? You've been in front of the zoning boards, and have you been in front of us before?
Have you been here before?
You've been here before?
I'm sorry that I have not, this is my first trip to this, my first appearance
Welcome to
before
Clifton.
this august board.
We'll accept
Thank
your
you.
qualifications.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, what?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Benenfeld, you brought some pictures, is that correct?
Yes.
And that is not a current depiction of the property, but it shows some buildings.
Yeah.
Can you identify the buildings that this application will be demolishing if it's approved?
Okay, the picture is of the Main Avenue location where we're planning to build the new building. Right now on the site, there are several buildings that will be demolished. One of which is the catering facility, which is on the north corner of Homer and Main Avenue. bank building, which is actually being currently used by the yeshiva as a facility now, and a existing residential structure on the corner of Cherry, and there is also a residential structure on Homer. 1, 2, 3, 4, those 4 structures will be demolished. And the main school building will be stretching along Main Avenue, and that's what you're looking at here.
Can you remove the diagram there? And my question is, those 4 buildings will be replaced by 1 building, am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
And is that the building that is in front of you now?
Right.
And what will be in that building?
So in that building, it will be used as a school. The student population of the school will be for, students from ages roughly 13 through 21. So it covers grades 9 through 12 in high school and several post-high school years of study.
Through the chair,
Yes,
let's mark these exhibits.
okay, let's mark these.
Okay, so Mr. Walentovich, with the first site plan, we'll mark that as P1.
P2 for the second.
P2. And can you identify that document again?
Right, so P1 is a diagram showing the buildings that are there now, and P2 is the proposed new classroom building.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the 4 buildings that are coming down, you mentioned something about a catering facility being in one of the buildings. That will not be replaced by any other catering facility, am I correct?
That's correct.
So the replaced building will consist solely of school-related classrooms, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and let me now turn your attention to the next diagram, and let me mark that as P3. Can you describe that, what that shows?
Okay, so these are the main floor plans of the building. This is the ground floor and the second floor of the building. We're also planning a lower floor to this building. The lower floor is more than half below grade. The ground floor is slightly above grade, and the ground floor consists of a study hall, an auditorium, some administrative space, and a lecture hall. It also has 1 classroom. The second floor will have 7 more classrooms, and also a lecture hall. So it's basically a school facility for 140 to 160 students.
All right, just a couple more questions for me. Mr. Graviano talked about a sunken plaza. Can you address that, please?
Yes, at the south end of the building, because of its, orientation towards the good sunlight and open air, by building a sunken plaza, we provide a space that is kind of out of view from the street, but provides light and air to the lower level, and the lower level at that part of the building, which is the south end, has a dining hall below grade. But of course, with the sunken plaza, it gets the benefit of full light and air.
Mr. Graviano, in his report dated December 3rd, 2022, also said that he would like the applicant to work with his office to revise the facade plan to give it a better visibility, and he suggested a brick-based facade. Are you in agreement with all of those items?
I'm absolutely in agreement with that, and I would love to work with Mr. Graviano on that.
Including the brick-based?
Including the brick-based
facade and whatever changes that he proposes, the applicant and your firm would be willing to make?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I have no further questions of the architect.
Can you share with us the height of the building and the square footage?
So the height of the building is 2 stories. It's approximately 27 feet high. The building does go below grade for another level, but the height that we're looking at here is approximately 27 to 30 feet high.
I'm sorry, can you say it again? You said 27?
Parts of the building are 27 and parts are 30.
So the highest part will be 30?
Yes.
Okay. Did you say something about 40-something? So,
No.
okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, it's a 2-story building. And the ground floor is several feet above grade, and the lowest floor is more than half below grade, and the building does reach a height of 30 feet.
All right, and the approximate square footage?
The approximate square footage. There we go. Okay. The total square footage is 40,000 square feet.
40,000?
40,000 square feet.
Questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner DeStefano?
With that one drawing, the rendering, the facade that's on there now, Mr. Graviano, you wanted it changed? What did you want changed?
Yes, the applicant indicated that he would work with me on the facade. I think, you know, the feeling has been in Clifton, always have things a little more traditional, it'll stand the test of time, use of brick and other elements, especially in a building that'll be right on Main Street. So, you know, I'm certainly comfortable that the applicant has indicated that they'll work with the board on some revised facade elevations.
Okay, so what's there now is like a cement, and you're proposing brick, is that what you wanted?
Yes, you know, I looked at some of the applicant's architect's previous work, very great architect for institutional buildings.
Like what's there in the back there, that dorm sort of?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The dorm that's in the back there is like that brick, keep it like that? Is that what you?
Yeah, mixture of brick, you know, some limestone or limestone X elements, you know, something you see a little bit more in campus buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Silva?
Couple questions. How many students will be attending?
So we're going to have approximately 140 to 160 students.
140 to 160?
Yes.
The teachers?
I think Rabbi should answer that.
Commissioner, actually, the rabbi can answer those questions very specifically in terms of how many students are there now, both in the high school and post-high school, and if that would change, and he can talk about the students. If you want me to take him out of turn, he can answer your question right now.
Let's defer that until, let's stick with the architect for the moment, and we'll...
That's fine, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any interested parties that have questions to the architect on his testimony, please come forward. Okay, seeing none. Questions for the architect?
Is this where I can question the footprint of the building, or is that coming later?
I think you can talk to him about the footprint. Yeah, just go to the microphone.
Okay, because I need to use my finger to point at these plans.
Let's get you
Okay,
sworn in.
we'll get you sworn in first, and then you can do that.
Name and address, and Mr. Pogorelko will swear you in.
Henry Chelazinski, Homer Street, Clifton.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Looking at these plans.
If you could just speak into the microphone.
Looking at these plans, the setback on the building, there is a bump out on the Homer Street side that probably comes within 3 or 4 feet of the sidewalk. Traffic and visibility and speed limits on Main Avenue have been a hot topic as of late with the Traffic Safety Council here in town. This bump out is further decreasing visibility to anybody trying to pull out of Homer Street. The proposal was to use the parking lot in the back, the entrance on Cherry Street, coming out, exiting onto Homer Street, and then going out onto Main Avenue. With the visibility being severely reduced, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. The neighbors in this area have already been coming to the Traffic Safety Council asking whether the speed limit can be reduced, what can be done to put in speed tables.
Through the chair.
All what we're
This
doing
is an
here.
architectural
Hold on.
question.
Please, in the form of a question. This is a question to the architect.
Okay. Can you reduce that bump out and pull the setback back another 2 or 3 feet off the sidewalk to better increase visibility and public safety over on Main Avenue? Can you do that?
Yes.
Will you do that?
Mr. Chairman, we have a traffic engineer. Can we ask him to answer that question?
We'll get to him.
Okay.
Let's stay on the architect.
Through the chair, just one
Yes,
point to that
Mr.
comment,
Graviano.
which, I don't think the resident framed that properly. The building is set back approximately 40 feet from Homer Street, so I just don't
It's
see.
not the Homer Street setback I'm questioning. It's the setback on Main Avenue.
Mr. Inzola, could you address
Yeah,
that, please?
So then, I don't believe this is an architectural question. I would have their traffic engineer provide testimony with respect to, does the project respect the site triangles at the intersection of Homer and Main? If it doesn't respect the site triangles based on Passaic County criteria, then it may need to be modified, but that would be what they have to comply
No.
to.
Okay.
The people have been coming to the Traffic Safety Council to object about the traffic patterns and the speed limit on Main Avenue, people from this neighborhood. I just don't want to see this architectural plan, this bump out, increasing that lack of safety due to the design. If we could pull that back, and the architect says he has no problem going back another few feet off of Main Avenue to increase the sight line, you'd be increasing public safety, and there'd be far fewer objections to some of the issues on this plan.
So what we'll do is that will come up with one of the other experts on if that's an issue that needs to be discussed further. So that's not a question for this architect. I apologize for
All right.
insinuating this.
Well,
Okay?
this architect already said he has no problem pulling the setback back, increasing the setback. So we're halfway to fixing this bump out in the sightline issue.
Okay. Any other interested parties that have questions for the architect? Seeing none? Next witness?
Mr. Arthur Cunyon, please. Mr. Cunyon, can you give the board the benefit of your background?
Sure. I'm a project manager at Stonefield Engineering Design. I received my bachelor's in science from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I've been involved in the field of land development for over 10 years, testifying before boards in Passaic and Bergen County.
We'll accept your qualifications.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple preliminary questions, and then I'm going to ask you to address engineering questions as outlined by the Neglia report dated October 28th, 2022. Has this project been before the county?
It has, and we've been granted conditional approval.
Okay. All right, and are you familiar with the report by the Neglia firm addressing this project?
I am, yes.
And without me going through point by point, are you just able to talk about it?
Yeah, I can take us through the project from a site standpoint. You know, I think the architect did a great job, and let me mark this exhibit. I don't know what the last exhibit.
That would be P4.
So I'm going to mark this exhibit P4. It's just a colorized rendering of the previously submitted site plan prepared by our office, Stonefield Engineering Design, dated December 6th, 2022. So I think the architect did a great job of taking you through the building. I'm just going to take you through some of the site features. As we mentioned, the proposed development includes a proposed secondary school. If we take a look at the site as it stands right now from an access standpoint, there are currently 5 driveways on site. We're looking to consolidate those 5 driveways into one single-way or one-way driveway coming off of Cherry Street, entering the property, and exiting onto Homer Street. That driveway is going to service 20 surface parking spots, inclusive of 2 ADA parking spots. The project itself generates a parking demand of 56 spaces, which is why one of the reasons we're here to seek relief. We're also going to be proposing 3 electric charging or make-ready spots, and in reviewing the engineer's review letter, we would agree to increase this to 8. So with that EV State Senate proposal or requirement, this would bring our total parking proposed to 25 spaces. And all of these parking spaces and drive aisles have been designed through the city ordinance. In addition to that parking variance that I did just mention, I just want to walk the board through some of the other relief that we're seeking as part of this project. The location of the parking stalls in relation to the lot line, 10 feet is required, 5.8 is proposed. The building front yard setback, where 25 is required, 7.3 is proposed. Side yard setback, 20 is required, 19.8 is proposed, but really that just comes from an existing nonconformity from the existing dormitory to the east of the property. And same thing with the rear yard setback, 35 is required and 24.2 is proposed, but again, an existing nonconformity from that dormitory. There's a lot coverage requirement of 20%. We're proposing 39%, and I'll touch on it a little bit more when I get to the stormwater of the property. But all of the asphalt on the property is going to be proposed to be permeable asphalt. So, if you would just take a look at reducing that permeable asphalt from the overall lot coverage requirement, what we're really asking for is 21% lot coverage, just over that 20% required. Lot width, 150 is required, or 117.45 is proposed, again, an existing nonconformity, and then finally, just the parking proposed in the front yard setback. Moving to some of the operations of the site, we are proposing a new trash enclosure that will be screened by landscaping. There was a request to provide additional landscaping to further screen that trash enclosure, which we would agree to do. It's going to be picked up by a private hauler about 1 to 2 times a week or as needed from a demand standpoint. Along the driveway that I previously mentioned, we are proposing a 40-foot long loading spot for deliveries and all other operations that it can be used for. The site itself proposes brand new sidewalk, curbing, and street trees along all the frontages of the site, including Homer, Main, and Cherry Street. And we were looking to design the lighting for this project from a civil engineering standpoint. We look at 2 things. One is to properly illuminate the site itself, but we're also mindful of the neighboring residents and neighboring uses, so we really focus on preventing any sort of spillover onto those property. So with that, we're proposing all new LED fixtures, both mounted to the buildings and poles that are intended to, they're downward oriented, and they're intended to really just illuminate the site while eliminating any of the spillover to the neighboring properties. From a landscaping standpoint, I think you could even see in this colorized rendering the abundance of landscaping that we're proposing for this project. There's a mixture of evergreen trees, the city has shrubs, grasses, and perennials that provide season-long interest throughout the property. We also look to complement some of the architectural features with some of the foundation plantings that you can see in this rendering. From a utility standpoint, public water, sewer, gas, electric, and telecommunications are available in the surrounding roadway network. The proposed secondary school is going to be serviced by all of these new utilities pulled off of Main Avenue. And we did go through the process of obtaining the will serve letters, essentially the utility authority's way of saying that they can provide service to this property. Obviously, it's already developed. So we have all those, and we agreed to comply with the engineer's letter in regards to utilities, and we'll design it with the utility authority standards. When we look to grade the property from a topography standpoint, especially because it's already developed, we're looking to maintain the existing drainage patterns as much as we feasibly can, and that we did essentially just that. And kind of just tying right into stormwater, as we're disturbing more than 1 acre, this project is classified as a major development. And when we look at stormwater, we look at 3 requirements: stormwater quality, groundwater recharge, and stormwater quantity. I'll get the easy ones out of the way. Groundwater recharge, because we're in a metropolitan planning area, we're exempt from meeting any groundwater recharge requirements. From a stormwater quality standpoint, we're actually reducing the proposed motor vehicle surface on the site. So we're not required to meet any water quality requirement, but inherently, by providing the permeable asphalt by providing that all the asphalt on site is going to be permeable asphalt, we're essentially going above and beyond with our water quality and meeting the requirement that way. And from a quantity standpoint, this pervious asphalt bed, which is, it's similar to a pavement profile, except we have a much larger stone storage bed under the pavement. It allows stormwater to seep through it. It's stored into that stone storage bed before ultimately discharging the Cherry Street system. From a quantity standpoint, again, we're meeting all of the requirements, and what we look to do there is reduce the peak flows, which is the maximum rate of flow that goes to a specific system. So we're meeting those requirements for the 2, 10, and 100-year storm events by its respective requirements. And overall, the project's going to provide an inherent benefit to the existing stormwater quality, its quantity. It's going to comply with all the applicable stormwater management regulations, and as such, it's not anticipated to have any adverse impact to the neighboring properties, downstream water courses, or conveyance systems within the watershed. I touched on it previously, but we did have the opportunity to obtain approval from Passaic County. We've made a submission to the Soil Conservation District, and we'll obtain all the other necessary outside agency approvals, and we'll agree to comply with Mr. Antondola's engineering review letter. I don't know if I missed anything there.
I think you covered it all.
Hold on, before we go any further. Mr. Antondola, can you share with us your thoughts based on this testimony? There's a lot of talk about flooding in Clifton. Maybe it's around the whole city, whole county, the whole state, I don't know. But what neighbors can expect based on what we just heard with these rainstorms? Will this be, will neighbors experience the same amount of flow, less, more, the same, or we won't know until it happens?
So as of March of 2021, NJDEP has made a model ordinance for all municipalities, which is pretty rigorous, which Mr. Kenyon just talked about. The 2, 10, and 100-year storm have to be looked at because this is a major in terms of the area of additional disturbance and with respect to acreage. So in the end, the unorganized drainage that's there now, the former restaurant, the bank, and those houses will now be organized into a drainage system that has been vetted by the DEP regulations, as well as a rigorous review by Passaic County. We find that when applications leave Passaic County municipalities, the Passaic County review is as rigorous or even more rigorous than what the towns would ask for. And so what the applicant is representing is that they have the approval from Passaic County already with the drainage reviewed. There's been an application that this board has sent to Passaic County, and it came back that they couldn't do what we wanted to do because Passaic County drainage was more, they wanted more intense features. So that being said, I can represent to the board that ultimately there'll be less runoff, believe it or not, from this site than there was before with the parcels that are going to be demolished. That being said, we do want the drainage system that this is going to ultimately convey to at the dead end of Cherry Street to be televised, to be cleaned and televised, to identify if there's any areas where the drainage system may have failed. And if there is an identification of failure, then we'll work with the municipal engineer and the applicant to see what the solution would be in a fair manner. So that's what I wanted to represent to the board. We know that when we have these intense storms and the way the topography is now, that those major rainfall events where we get 4 inches of rain in 3 hours, it is not the burden of the applicant to design to those storms. They need to design to the 2, the 10, and the 100-year storm. When it gets beyond a 100-year storm, then it is a regional problem. But they are not adding to a regional problem, they're actually improving a regional issue. I don't know if that helps the board in their decision-making process.
Okay, so you're satisfied that this will not exacerbate any problem, but you seem to have a level of confidence that this will improve any condition that's there. Is that accurate?
Correct. The roof
And
leak-
yet a further step of examining or cammering what's underground now, correct?
Right, so then we may have them, when we come into construction document review, should the board look favorably on this, or resolution compliance, we may have them increase the stone bed where the pervious, the water is draining through, just so we have more storage, because as the DEP regulations from March of '21 are being vetted by actual submissions and DEP review, we'll have the discussion with the applicant and the DEP to make sure that their methods meet what they are seeking to do. So we'll just vet that out when we go to resolution compliance, but what they've submitted now, we're satisfied. With the
Chair.
condition that Cherry Street storm sewer is cleaned and televised.
Okay,
And we would agree to do that.
okay, and you would agree to that, okay. Thank you
Chair.
for that explanation. Commissioner Fukas.
You know, Mr. Tindola, it's all well and good with the storm sewer. What about the sanitary sewer? What if these people that are here, I don't know if they live there, start getting everything backing up? Because we had a lot of that, bless you, we had a lot of that going on at Passaic Ave.
Well,
And all other parts of
Right.
Clifton, you know.
We're on, this is Maine, I get the two confused sometimes. But if there is an issue, when they tie in, we'd also have them televise the sanitary sewer from manhole to manhole along the Main Ave run that they're going to tie into.
Who upgrades it if there is a problem? Who pays to upgrade it?
They
Because
only
this is a
have-
40,000 square foot building, it's got to be, I don't know how many bathrooms. how
Right,
many-
ultimately, I believe they have to make a TWA application. That's a treatment works application. And in that, Clifton does not sign off until they're satisfied that improvements are made, that the conveyance can be made.
Okay, thank you. And then one question to you, the LED lights you're proposing, they're going to be at the 2900 Kelvin, that'll mimic the high-pressure sodium? Our ordinance is still with high-pressure sodium, but we've been lenient with the LEDs with the, I think it's what? 2900?
Specific to the LED lighting, Commissioner, it's 2,700 to 3,000 Kelvin in terms of the color temperature if you're going for your site lighting. That's the targeted warmth that the city prefers.
Yeah, and we can comply with that, just trying to look at the exact temperature that we propose, but, you know, we'd be happy to comply with that. Yeah, we'd be happy to stipulate that we can comply with that 2,700.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner DeStefano.
So just to bring up again to you on the questions that were asked by Commissioner Fukas and the Vice Chairman here. So you will comply for Neglier's report. You will do the sewer and the water runoff. You'll follow that. And you do have Passaic County approval for this project, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
We would agree to televise both the sanitary and the stormwater as part of the development.
Thank you.
Do we have any interested parties that would like to question based on this testimony? Please come up. If you would please state your name and address, please.
Gary Gallagher, 44 Homer Street.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So I do.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate basically what you've already said, and I understand it meets all the approvals and everything now, but you're still saying if there's a problem, it's going to have to be addressed. When there's a problem, if there's a problem, you said that yourself, oh, we'll have to wait and see when it happens whether or not we'll address it. And some of you touched on the Passaic Ave thing. We know a family that lives on Patricia Place and that had their basement flooded, and I'm sure all those plans were approved at the time, had their basement flooded multiple times after the extended stay hotel was put up. So it's still,
So
you're still saying yes.
your question to the,
My question is, although everyone's saying, yes, it all looks good and it should be approved, but we'll find out if there's a problem when there's a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, I think essentially what we're saying is we're proposing a stormwater system that's a vast improvement on what's out there today. We're mindful of the existing neighbors by not only meeting the regulation, but truthfully, if you review our stormwater design, it actually far exceeds the stormwater regulations. But what we're going to do is essentially televise the system to ensure that it can handle our flows, which we are reducing from the current development.
What does that mean exactly, to televise this?
Just essentially just put a camera in and just see the existing conditions of it. And if there is some sort of issue, that we would agree to improve on that system.
I could tell you this, that these boards are very aware of these issues. It's very clear what's been occurring. And we want to make sure if they're going to be granted a variance, well, at that time, that's the ideal time to improve a condition that might exist. Now, I don't know if there's a flooding issue there or not, but what we need to be satisfied with, and if you notice, we asked our engineer, not the applicant, are you satisfied with this explanation? Because we want to improve a condition. Having the conditions be the same might or might not be of any help, but I think we've been satisfied through our engineer, and again, not the applicant, that these conditions will improve the site, not exacerbate any problem, if that's... We're looking for the same thing you are.
Understood?
Yeah.
So, through you, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, so the process is that should the board look favorably upon this application, the applicant is going to submit a resolution compliance set. Prior to construction, we will review a televised video of the storm sewer system that not only when they televise it, they clean it with a vac truck. It's cleaned, and then anything where there's joints that need to be rebuilt, or a catch basin that has failed, or a manhole that needs to be touched up, the applicant has taken that on as their burden. They don't have to, but they just committed to that. And then additionally, when they go in for the sanitary line attachment to the city system, they are also going to televise from block to block or manhole to manhole, which is over the largest distance, to where they're going to tie into. And if there's any deficiencies in that line, we will review it and see what needs to be fixed. So that's where, as the chairman has said, that's where we have the bite at the apple to do this kind of work.
One more thing, in the event that there was flooding, that it did occur in the future, who would be responsible for that?
Well, that's why, so like what we had, I'm not the applicant's engineer, but we understand that there are regional storms that no municipal system can handle. Those are the 4-inch rains like in 90 minutes. No system in North Jersey can handle that. But what I do know is this system that they're proposing will not make it worse and we'll make it slightly better, but that betterment is lost when you have those larger storms across the board.
My question of who would be responsible in the event that flooding would occur that isn't occurring now, who would be responsible?
Well, they're not making that condition worse.
No, that's.
So they would not be responsible, I could say that.
Okay, thank you.
Please
Hi, good-
state your name and address, please.
Beverly Cholazinski, 35 Homer Street.
Please raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
The size of the building. Now, my concept isn't that great when you're talking how many feet. What, in relation to the dormitory that is already there, is it going to be around the same height? Higher? Because it's like you're calling it 2-story, but if you have half of it sticking out of the ground, that's like a 2.5-story.
It'll be about the same height.
It'll be about the same height. So looking from my bedroom, and again, the footprint, which is a lot, not really keeping with the neighborhood, which is my concern. It's going to be a huge monstrosity on the end of the street is how I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at, right now out of my bedroom window, I could see straight to Main Avenue. And so, like I said, I'm just concerned about the overuse of the land with the size of the building and with the number of students in it.
Not sure there's a question there.
I don't know if it's a question. Like I said, I was just,
Well,
I was just trying to figure out
I mean,
how.
I guess you're trying to ask, will that
Ask
infringe
exact-
upon your light and your airflow?
Yes, my light, my
That's her question.
airflow,
That-
my,
And visibility, will the height of the building based on where, and what's your address again?
35.
35 Homer?
Yeah, about halfway down the block.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I can say is that the proposed building obviously is in line with the bulk standards. We're not seeking a height variance. We were very mindful to keep the building within that height variance. And I would say that the buildings that we are removing, I believe one of them is actually a 3-story building, which is in violation of the zoning ordinance. So again, we were mindful of that. Again, it's within the zoning ordinance of the height that's required,
Okay, how wide is the driveway?
18 feet wide.
18 feet wide, okay. So it's just one car?
Yes, it's a one-way driveway.
It's a one-way driveway. Okay, what about the delivery trucks? How does that work? They go in on Cherry Street?
Yeah, all the deliveries will follow the same path passenger vehicles do. They'll come in from Cherry Street. They'll use a designated loading on site.
Do you have that on there? Might I take a look?
Yeah. Flip it around from you. So they'll come in from Cherry Street. We have a designated loading, so all the loading happens within our site itself, and then they'll exit onto Homer. Thank you.
You can state your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Dariusz Oldakowski, 134 Cherry Street.
Please raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to ask, the height of the building, because if anybody imagine, I live in the back, what's 134 Cherry Street? It's like in the back of the main building. So they're gonna be covered my view for everything now, right? Because when I started living over there, it was only like one lot, right? It's one family house before me. Now, if you want to put a big building, they're 27 feet high, so they're going to be covered everything, right?
This is a question to the engineer. What is your question?
Yeah, because you told me it's going to be like LED lights around the building. So they're gonna be, the lights gonna be in my bedroom, gonna be, they all night gonna be lights, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, and specifically in civil engineering, the way when we design lighting, we're very mindful of the neighbors and not having any of that illumination spill over onto the neighboring properties. So all of the building lights and all of the light poles themselves will actually be pointed down within the site, and there's no spillover of any sort of illumination onto your property or any of the other residential properties.
Yeah, but my question is because when you guys put like one building, they're gonna be covered. It's not gonna be any view to the street anymore, right?
Can you just point out where you live? Is
Yeah,
it
1340 Cherry. In the back of the house.
so right here?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, right now, the view itself is covered by the existing dormitory. That's going to remain. The extension is really just going to cover the driveway. You live right here? Okay. So
Can we
you're,
just be, just for the record, could you just be a little more descriptive of where his property is?
so it's essentially, I don't know what the best way to do this, but, so his property is right in the southwest corner of our property, where the property line itself takes an L shape to the frontage of Cherry Street, essentially directly behind the proposed dormitory expansion. Your view to Main Street will actually be right in line with the sunken plaza, not part of the building. So you'll still have a view to Main Street.
But only like in the corner, right? There's just a little bit.
No, it should be essentially
Yeah, there's
very
gonna be,
close to the edge
that's
of the
gonna
property line.
be the parking lot. They're gonna be drop-off area, right?
Yeah, so there's a building that's directly in your view of Main Street right now.
Yeah, but the small building.
Agreed. We're removing that building, and there's going to be no
Yeah, but
building there.
So
Yeah, in my opinion, I think we're actually increasing your visibility of Main Avenue.
all right. Another thing, about the you guys like the all water, like like drain the rainwater, they always come over because the property is like high, like the street. So we got a big issue with the flood last year. So because the property is at the high level now, and every water come to the street and go to my yard in the back, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why we're proposing this stormwater system that's going to improve on the situation that's out there today.
All right.
Any other question for the engineer?
No, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. State your name again, please.
Henry Chelazinski. Help me understand something. You're increasing the impermeable area and telling me you're going to decrease the stormwater runoff. How is this going to work again?
So we're increasing the impervious area, but a majority of the increase of the impervious area itself will be in a permeable pavement bed. So all of the pavement on site will be permeable. Essentially, the fine aggregates of your typical pavement section aren't installed in this, so it allows for the stormwater to seep through. When stormwater hits regular pavement, it just sheet flows onto an inlet or something. The way that our pavement is designed, every time any sort of rainwater hits the pavement, it seeps through the surface course itself and goes into a stone bed that's stored beneath the pavement before ultimately discharging in a pipe conveyance system to Cherry Street.
Historically, before the three houses on the cul-de-sac at Cherry Street were built, that was woods and an open field. And there was very little rainwater runoff into Dunny Park, very little what you could call minor flooding at the time. With the three houses, the flooding had increased. Now with the addition of the dormitory, there's been a significant increase in the flooding in the neighborhood. Homer Street, now the sewer on Homer Street, I believe, ties into the one in Dunny Park, which this site ties into the Dunny Park sewer. It's being overtaxed at this point. Was there any thought given to putting in a retention pond under the parking lot, a cistern, something to retain more of the storm water and release it at a slower rate than just putting asphalt down? Now, you're saying that the asphalt would be permeable, that the rainwater would work its way down. What happens if the school decides they want to maintain a parking lot and coats it with driveway sealer, like many shopping centers do, and fill in the cracks? Now you've just taken this porous surface and made it impervious. And where does that leave the neighborhood? Can you put some thought into putting in a couple cisterns there? Because the flooding, 100-year floods are now every other year. And rainstorms are coming quite frequently. The neighborhood is flooding more and more. I would think this would be more palatable to people if there was a water retention system planned in where more of the stormwater would be taken. And granted, you're gonna televise the storm sewer, but there has been problems there. If you check with the city's engineer at the end of Cherry Street, there was a big problem with the collapse of the sewer there. These sewers haven't been cleaned in years. It needs a lot of work. Moving up to the sanitary sewer, would the schools stipulate that they own that stretch? Because when China Garden was on the corner where the kosher restaurant is now, they had a serious collapse, and that sanitary sewer in that area was in very poor condition. And without pointing fingers, I'm sure the restaurant went and contributed to it, put in a giant-sized greaseberg into that sewer system. The city's already replaced pieces of it. It's in fragile condition, and I think if you go back into the records in the engineering department, you would see that there's been work, there's been replacement, and it's a fragile sewer system. So would the school be willing to stipulate that they own that sanitary sewer? Because you got 160 students, plus including what you have in the dormitory every morning, given it the 8 o'clock flush. That's a lot of water going through this sewer.
Can you answer that, please?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, so I'm going to try to take it question by question.
Before we do, Mr. Inzola, can you
So
chime in?
with respect to the sanitary sewer, the school cannot own the sanitary sewer in the right-of-way. The way it works is that when they get their treatment works application, the city will not sign off on it until they're satisfied that the future sanitary flows can be conveyed to Passaic Valley Sewage Commission by way of the Main Ave sewer. But there is not a vehicle or a legal instrument that I know of in the statute that would allow the city to cede its control to the applicant. I know of no way of doing that, to be honest. And then with respect to Cherry Street and the storm system, the applicant has already stipulated that they will clean the sewer, and they will televise the sewer, and they will, as needed, repair the sewer. And that's what the board can ask for now, and that's what they're doing.
I get that on the Cherry Street part. Getting back to the sanitary sewer, okay, if they won't convey ownership, can it be codified in the Board of Adjustment that they're responsible for maintaining that? Because if you go back 20 years in history when the AVE development was built on Passaic Avenue, the sewers are great. All of a sudden, it's costing the taxpayers a couple $1 million to fix a sewer system that wasn't adequate for that many residences. And I believe what you have in a dormitory and what you have at the Ave development is quite similar into the amount of people that are using the sanitary sewer. What I'm saying, they have approximately the same amount of people in that development as they're proposing here in this dormitory in the school. And I just don't want to see another $2 million bill coming down the pike where the city has to suck up repairs to a sewer system that was inadequate from the beginning, that should have been repaired. So if they would stipulate that they're responsible for all the maintenance on it, I could be a happy camper with that.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Responsible for all the maintenance, I just want to make it clear, responsible for all the maintenance on the city sewer?
Yes, the one in front of the proposed school
I think
and
with the,
dormitory.
yeah, go ahead.
Through you, or Commissioner Lucas.
I think you're giving great testimony. You're a really good engineer, but, we're lay people up here. We're not engineers. I got to go with, this gentleman, Mr. Cholozinski. He's lived there for how many years? He's telling you what he lives with. I've been on this board 16 years, and I've seen these developments, and we've heard from the engineers, oh, we're going to put a camera down, and it could take, and then one thing happened to me, too. Chelsea on Valley Road. I got 2 buildings around the corner. I got flooded 3 times. The sewer collapsed, sanitary sewer. The city fixed it. It's just common sense. It's, I don't know how many units. It's senior living. It's got to be at least 50 toilets. Common sense would dictate that to flow. I don't know that these people could be responsible for it, but there's got to be a way for us to have peace of mind for these people. Even the gentleman with the cat sweatshirt, he's right. After the fact, it's too late.
Yeah, and
I'm telling you what, I cleaned it myself. I spilled 5 gallons of bleach. It could choke a horse.
Yeah, no, I completely agree and understand the situation. I think that's why we're going to work with the engineer. We're going to televise it. We're going to look at the extent of it, and I'm sure we're going to understand the capacity of it. We're going to calculate the capacity or the proposed flow that our demand or our development will generate, and we won't even be able to get it through the city unless the engineer agrees that the sewer is in good condition. If it's not in good condition, we'll improve it, we'll replace it, and if it can't handle all flows, then we'll have to come up with a solution. But this is not the end-all, be-all of our sewer application. Like the board engineer said, we still have to go through a process, not only with the city, then with the county, and then with the DEP.
Well, I think one of the factors that engineers don't factor into this equation, you have 160 high school kids. They use toilet paper by the bushel basket. You got a 6-inch sewer pipe out in the street. This much toilet paper times 160 into a 6-inch sewer pipe, and you've got a colossal plug in there. And when it plugs, it surcharges out through the manhole, runs down Homer Street into the sanitary sewer that allegedly is going to be cleaned, inspected, and fixed.
Mr. Cholozinski, let's keep it to the questions.
Well,
yeah, let's keep it to questions.
I'm trying to explain my reason that I'm worried about the sanitary sewer.
I understand. This is the portion where you get to ask him questions, and he'll need to defend it. You'll get to say at the end.
Let me move back up to the cistern. Can you put a couple dry well cisterns under that parking lot to throttle?
Yeah, it's a great question. Essentially, the permeable pavement is a retention pond. The storage bed that's provided underneath it, it's no different than pipe storage, a dry well. A dry well functions in the same manner. This is actually something that we're required to propose. DEP in 2021 in March set out a few best management practices. Us as engineers, we're really limited to what we can propose, and the permeable pavement is not only an accepted one, but one that we've used in time. And I know that you had a question about just putting the sealant over it.
They put the sealant over it.
It's another great concern and a question that I've gotten before. As part of resolution compliance, we're going to be required to prepare an operation and maintenance manual. How is the stormwater on site going to be maintained? How often is it going to be maintained? How is it going to get cleaned? These things need to get checked after certain rain events. They have to get vacked in case debris gets caught into them. That's going to be submitted to the board's engineer who's going to review it, and it's going to be recorded as part of the property to constantly maintain the stormwater system in the event of some sort of failure.
So I'm to understand that the parking lot, that the asphalt will act as its own catch basin, leach water into the gravel bed underneath it, and sealing it with an asphalt sealer and properly maintaining the asphalt is not going to affect the leaching of the water?
Well, there would just be no intention to seal it. The intention is to have the asphalt be permeable.
Okay. I hope
And
I
that'll
live-
be recorded as part of the maintenance manual.
Right, so Mr. Chair, through you again. They cannot, in any situation, seal the permeable pavement because they will be in violation of their stormwater permit, which ultimately, it would be a violation of the city's stormwater permit. So there is not a scenario where 2 years later, when we're not looking, they come in with a pallet of driveway sealant and roll it out. They cannot do that because they have to give us a yearly report that the storm system is in good repair.
Where does that report go to? The city's engineering department?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more, on that subject, one more question. Who is going to enforce this if there is an issue with this, if there is a problem? With the maintain, like, what if the driveway gets beat up and starts getting potholes and needs to be redone? Can it be redone with the same material?
Yeah,
Is that how they do
certainly-
that?
Yeah, sorry to
Okay.
interrupt you. Yeah,
So-
certainly, go ahead, please finish.
All right, okay, thank you.
Questions now, just to the engineer? Okay, just state your name and address, and we'll swear you in.
Pine Gudarzi, 46 Homer Street.
Please raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Just like to know if there's any comparable projects of this size in a similar style neighborhood that we can use to see if what's been implemented and what's been done might result the same, might get us the same results. I just want to know how far we are off from what we know is not working or is working. Anything you can bring to the table that would say, hey, we've done this here and there.
Do you mean from, just trying to think about a site civil standpoint, you mean comparative from a stormwater sanitary standpoint, overall
Well,
development?
that's the topic that you were presenting, so I would imagine that's what it is. So I just want to know if this is a net new project for you in a new neighborhood where we don't know what the results are, or if there's something you've done maybe 10, 20 miles away that you can cite and say this is a very specific, hey, we've done this before, this is what it looks like, and these are the results we've generated.
Can't think of a secondary school that I've done in a 10 to 20 mile radius. I can say that I can think of many projects that I've done that had this permeable material. It's frequently used. It's promoted and almost encouraged by the DEP. So, I don't know if I could cite a specific one in a 10 to 20 mile radius, but.
So so this project of this size and this type of neighborhood you've never worked on?
I wouldn't say that, no. I'm sure I've worked on projects I wouldn't say of this use, but of this size. I think this is a relatively regular application that our office would work on.
For you, yes, but for the neighborhood, it's a big site. And it would change everything for a landmass of that size and that size neighborhood for those types of homes.
Fortunately, I'm just a civil engineer. I would kind of defer to the planner.
So listen, do you have something, it sounds like this gentleman wants to look at something, review something, drive past something, right? I mean, it's.
That would be great. I just want
Something that's within,
we just,
10 miles that's maybe not identical, but similar, so he can, I mean, it's what it sounds like he's asking.
Yeah, sure. I obviously don't have that material on me, but I'm sure we can bring it back or have it for the next hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair.
My name is Michelle Gallagher, 44 Homer Street. I don't know if this question's for you. It might-
Okay, well, let me swear you in first, and then you can ask your question. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Regarding the driveway, is there any reason that the entrance and the exit cannot come off of Main Ave? I don't understand being a residential neighborhood, why you would put a driveway and entrance on residential streets. I mean, Main Ave is a huge street, and it makes sense to make a U-shaped driveway.
Yeah, Passaic County wouldn't allow it.
They just wouldn't allow it. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually like in their ordinance that you're not allowed the driveway access unless you prove some hardship. So So we were actually required to remove the driveways we had.
Okay, that's my question. Thanks.
Any other interested parties before we move on? How many more witnesses will you have?
I have Mr. Korak, the traffic engineer. His testimony will be very short. Mr. Mileto's testimony will also be short. But, Mr. Chairman, whatever you want to do.
All right, let's
Okay.
move forward, yeah.
Like-
We'll go another 15 minutes. If we don't get it in then, we'll continue this.
Thank you.
There'll be another 15 minutes.
Mr. John Korak, please.
Good evening.
Can you please give the commissioners your background?
Certainly. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, hold a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the College of New Jersey, an expert in the field of traffic and transportation engineering. I've appeared
You've been
before over
in
60
front of us
boards,
before, correct?
Including this one earlier.
Yes,
this
of
year.
course.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll accept your qualifications.
Thank you.
We're going to get to the point that was raised by one of the questions, but first, just talk about the traffic flow and the parking.
Yeah, certainly. So when it comes to the traffic flow for this site, there's two primary components. It's the secondary school component and the post-secondary school component. And unlike what I would call a traditional or public school, there is a very unique traffic operation to this type of development, one that lends itself to a substantially reduced amount of traffic, a substantially reduced amount of parking, and ultimately something that works well with this site where we do have a parking variance, we do have the traffic flows that we do here off of Main Avenue, Cherry Street, Homer Street. The first component of this is the secondary school, about 80 students in the school and about 10 staff members. Those students do not drive. Most are in the neighborhood, they walk, they bike, but a portion are carpooled in, and it's about 8 carpools over the course of that morning drop-off period. That morning period is staggered into 3 different drop-off times, so it's well dispersed. 8 carpools over 3 times, plus an additional 10 staff vehicles arriving to the site in the morning. It's very minimal traffic generation for really any development. Similarly, in the dismissal period, we do have staggered dismissals as well based on what program the students are completing. And those dismissal times happen well after that evening peak hour. The program goes quite late, 7:30, 8:30, past 9 even for some of the programs within that secondary school. So when we see the traffic impacts of the secondary school, very low traffic generation from those high school age kids coming to and from the site and the staff members accordingly. Then there's the post-secondary school component, the older students, about 60 students for this component, and it's very limited staff. It's more of an independent study type program, and students who are residing on campus, all the students reside on campus, they cannot own vehicles. It is a requirement of the school that they cannot own a vehicle. It's a very competitive program. The students do not push the boundary on that because they would get found out and they would not be permitted back to the school. It's very regimented, it's very competitive, and that's not something to push the limit in. So when we look at the traffic parking impact associated with the post-secondary school, it is essentially zero. It is very, very limited as far as what vehicles could come to and from the site. Certainly no substantial impact or impairment to the roadway network associated with the project. So then when we get into the parking, right, we have we have a parking variance. We're required 56 spaces, and that requirement comes from a combination of 1 parking space per staff member, so that's 10 parking spaces, plus requirements related to the number of students within the secondary school and within the post-secondary school. But the students do not drive. They do not own cars. They do not park on the site. So that component of the parking, although it's in the requirement, it's not something that's impacting the site itself. We have 20 parking spaces provided on site, 10 staff members expecting about 10 vehicles at the most coming, being on the site. That gives us a nice cushion in case there are other vehicles, whether that might be a maintenance person or otherwise, coming to the site and parking. And ultimately, the operations of the site really support that parking variance that we are seeking as part of this application.
There was a question earlier, and I believe you could see it on the diagram, which is P4. And if you look on the left corner, okay, can you just address the question that one of the gentlemen asked about the setback? I believe it's 7.3 feet.
Right, so we have the small chamfer, if you will, architectural feature, which is the closest setback point from Main Avenue, 7.3 or 7.5 feet. In addition to that, from the curb line of the roadway, you have about 8.5 feet of distance between the property line and the curb line itself. And so we have reviewed the requisite sight triangles, basically your ability to see in both directions as you're making a turning movement from Homer Street onto Main Avenue. We've reviewed those. They meet the Passaic County standards. Passaic County wouldn't grant us our conditional approval if our building obstructed those sight triangles. And we are comfortable and we are confident that the visibility would not be impaired for those vehicles turning from Homer Street onto Main Avenue.
No further questions.
Questions from the board? Commissioner
Chair.
Fukas?
You have a 40,000 square foot building with 20 parking spots, which works for the proposed use. Now, the variance goes with the property. Let's say tomorrow you sell it. Somebody buys it for an office building. You're woefully deficient. They would have to knock down some of the building.
Right, so I would defer to our attorney about that, but oftentimes when you have a change of tenant within a structure where you have this kind of variance granted on operational components, they would come back to the board to re-seek that variance.
Thank you.
I would agree with that, Commissioner, because basically this is a religious institution and a school. So if there's a change of use, that whole inherently beneficial use is lost. And, that the new user would need
Okay, thank you.
a use variance that we don't need now because, we're a conditional use based on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Stefano?
can you again just go over the staggered drop-off and pickup of the school, and then how many students actually live on the site there?
Right, so with the secondary school itself, what we anticipate is...
Okay, so let's talk about the secondary school. Let's clear that up. What's that?
That's the high school age students.
Okay.
That they don't live on campus.
Okay.
Right, so the secondary school students arrive in the morning, depart in the evening, go back to their homes.
Okay, and what time do they arrive?
I think as early as 7:15, all the way through 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so how does that happen? I never heard of a high school that starts at 7:30 and then goes to 9:30, like, so.
Right, so...
I mean, it may not be for you to give me, it might be for the rabbi, but, I'm just trying to figure out the traffic flow, that it's not gonna, back up on Main Ave. And then the dismissal, you said, was staggered also, correct?
Correct.
What are those times?
Right, so that starts about 7:30 p.m., continue to 8:30, 9:15.
So the school starts at 7:30 a.m. and then continues all the way to 9 p.m.?
Correct, so there's a full high school education that you might expect within our fine public institutions, but then there's also a Hebrew education component. And I'm sure the rabbi can speak more to it, but it's a very regimented program, and there's very long study hours that are associated with it.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman,
Commissioner Molnar?
have these plans been submitted to our fire department and police for review, as far as turning radius and such?
Yes, they have.
Do we have a report on it? Was it submitted to us? I didn't see it in our packet.
Well, it appears as if this is going to be continued, so for next meeting, it's something that, we'd like to see.
I haven't received any reports, so.
Okay. Well, that's something we'll need to work on. Any other questions from the board? I think what we're going to do is carry this till another meeting, unless you have more testimony.
I don't have additional testimony. Do we take public now, or do we?
Do we, yeah, let's wrap up the public. Any questions for this witness?
Will there be parking on
Just
Main?
state,
oh.
just for the record again, just state your name again.
Beverly Cholazinski, 35 Homer.
Thank you.
Will there be parking on Main Avenue in front of this building?
There's no modifications to parking either way on Main Avenue for this building. All of our parking is on the site itself.
Right, but with the way the setbacks are and everything like that, I was wondering if there was any consideration about parking on Main Avenue, because right now, being that you're not going to have the driveways anymore, if people are going to be parking on Main Ave and taking up those spaces, it does hinder our view when we're trying to turn. I mean, if there's no parking on Main Ave, it might be a little cleaner. This way, you're guaranteed they're going to use the driveways.
Right, so
The way it's
the closure,
proposed.
essentially the closure of the driveway, right, that basically becomes curb line, it becomes allowable parking. There's no plan to prohibit that parking on Main Avenue at this time. It's very much an existing condition out there, but it's also not an area where our project needs to utilize that parking. We provide sufficient parking to accommodate our use on the site, and so anyone parking there is parking for unrelated reasons to our application as they may today.
Perhaps. Hopefully.
That's the intent, right? We have
That's
enough
the
parking
intent.
on our site to support it. It's a lot easier to park on the site and use the entrances that are facing the parking area. It's a much simpler maneuver.
Right, okay, thank you.
Just state your name again, sir.
Gary Gallagher, 44 Homer Street.
Thank you.
The driveway, the proposed driveway to run from Cherry Street and exit on Homer Street, you're going to have commercial trucks deliveries that he spoke of. How is a commercial truck? I have a commercial license. I drive commercial vehicles. How is a commercial truck going to come out on Homer Street and make either a right or left turn with a car parked across the street? It's basically right in front of my house, and I don't see how anybody's going to swing a commercial vehicle out of that driveway and make a turn.
Right, certainly not a tractor trailer, right? But a smaller box truck, typical delivery truck for a project of this type and size can make those turning maneuvers in and out of those driveways.
Can make multiple back and forth and back with cars parked around the driveway and a car parked directly across the street. Talking about right now there's a house there right now. They're going to knock down that house and put that driveway there. So there's another house next to it. There's a house directly across the street. People park on the street all the time. So a commercial vehicle is going to have an awfully difficult time coming out of that driveway and making a turn.
Right, and your commercial vehicles that we'd associate with this type of project oftentimes consist of Sprinter vans. They consist of short box trucks. They're not the large commercial vehicles used in large-scale shipping and warehousing and those types of projects. So
Yeah, there's no guarantee of that. You can't guarantee what kind of vehicle the guy's going to show up to deliver to a 40,000-foot square building. You can't guarantee what kind of truck he's going to bring to. You're saying smaller vans and this and that, but you can't promise us that or guarantee that. We're going to have big trucks trying to swing out of the driveway right in front of my house, basically.
Certainly a tractor trailer could not enter the site. And
Not tractor trailers, but large commercial vehicles will be pulling out and risks the damaging cars that are parked on the street, and it's just not, we look at it and it's just like, there's no way. So I don't know if that's a question. My question is, if anybody, you're saying that the
All right,
reports
so
have been submitted.
your question is, how's it going to happen?
I don't see how it's possible.
His answer is, we're not going to see tractor trailers, so.
It doesn't have to, a tractor trailer would never make it, never.
Through the
even
chair?
come
Of
close.
Yes,
Do you have turning
President.
templates that you did for the vehicles?
Let me see if I have those or not. Yeah, we can provide those and show those specific movements related to the vehicles.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful for alleviating some people's concerns.
Yeah, I made my point. But
yes, perfect, thank you.
Pi Darzi, 46 Homer Street. Earlier you had said that the students wouldn't be able to park on premise, and they'd be held accountable if they did that?
They wouldn't be allowed to own vehicles.
They would not be allowed to own vehicles?
Right, so it's not even, they can't park on the premise, they can't park in the neighborhood, they can't have a vehicle anywhere near this facility.
Okay, based on what? Well, how do I know they can't own a vehicle?
Right, based on the rules, requirements of this school, and basically it's a very regimented, very,
So that means that there's no way a student can drive down the end of the block, park there, and walk to the school? That would never happen?
no,
Okay. How many high school kids are there?
80 students.
So 80 of those students would get dropped off daily between that period of time?
So the majority of those students actually come from the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay.
Right, so it's a high rate of walking, bicycling, or otherwise, and then the remainder, saying that 30 to 40%, would be carpooled in to the site itself.
So there'll be a lot of traffic going there. And the reason I'm saying that is I live on 46 Homer Street. My daughter, who's 4 years old now in January, will be playing with her best friend who lives at 50 Homer Street, which is exactly where that traffic comes out. So from 7:30 till 9 o'clock, is that 5 days a week?
Correct.
Okay. So any time that I'm off of work, I'd have to be very mindful of guarding my child, and they're playing outside because there's going to be constant traffic coming and going.
No, there's about 8 carpools over that time.
Okay.
Like 8 vehicles.
Increased traffic.
8. It's, comparing that to the catering business that's
Well,
there
we're not
today,
comparing
it's
that
likely.
to the catering business. We're comparing it to the existing traffic,
Right,
right?
that's,
So it's an increased traffic.
no, because
Well,
that's.
what are you comparing it to? What I have now compared to what you're proposing is increased traffic.
For the full site, there's multiple uses that are on the
Right,
site today.
80 kids, let's say 40 kids getting dropped off, students, teachers that are going through, trucks that are coming through that we don't know if they can fit through or not, increased traffic. I just wanted to make sure I'm sharing my concerns, because as, all the experts that are sitting here who do not live in the neighborhood, who are paid vendors to support this, I just want to make sure that there's an understanding for that community. And now what I need to pay attention to with all these young kids, males in particular, that are all now in the neighborhood. I'm a father, and I just to be thoughtful about that.
Understood completely.
Are you aware? May I
Mr.
ask-
Chairman, can the rabbi answer that question? I think he has more information about that.
We'll get to that, but let's stay on the testimony. So what the attorney is saying is that the rabbi can perhaps answer that question when it's,
The traffic one, or?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not right now, but at all time.
Oh, okay. May I have one other question I have?
To the traffic.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the 20 parking lots that you're proposing, and the people that need to get picked up, and the reason why that all doesn't sound reasonable or make any sense to me is because, I don't know if you're familiar with one Main Avenue, which is a school right down the street from us. They have a parking lot that's an abandoned lot. I'm assuming they own it. That gets entirely filled with parents that are waiting. There's people that are parking in the front that are waiting. And I don't know if you know this site, but I would like to know if anyone's taking these things into consideration when we're understanding the effects that are going to happen to the neighborhood. Because I drive by there every day. That's my neighborhood. So I see that. It's the traffic that I deal with. And now you're telling me it's going to be right in front of me, but it's not going to affect anything because it's not increased traffic based on, I'm not sure what those metrics are, but.
Right, so the key here with this specific site and the specific development is the type of operation and the type of program that they run and the methods that students are dropped off. It doesn't operate like your typical public school where you have parents waiting and a stacking of cars and a large dismissal all at once. It's a fairly limited enrollment size overall, and the setup for arrival dismissal, the large
160
proportion.
is not limited.
Compared to a typical public school, it's a pretty low number. But I can certainly have the rabbi explain a little bit more about the program. I think that would help put your concerns at ease. But in working with him and preparing our traffic study, we're confident that this won't have any adverse impacts from a traffic parking perspective.
That's an assessment you're making. It's
Yes.
not something we know. What I do know is what happens at that site.
Right, this
That
is-
I know, that I see, that I drive by it. you're unaware of it, and you're making your estimates based on how you feel things will go. I get that.
This is
But
my-
here's a projected plan, not facts, not actual. Actual is what happens at the school down the street. That I can see. That you can do your videos all day and watch, and then we can have some real data.
Right,
So
this is
that's
my
what I would
professional,
suggest.
this is my professional engineering opinion, right? And
Let's
that's-
keep it to questions.
Yeah,
please.
so my question
And
is, how are we
to-
verifying that information?
Okay, so if you want to answer
we
that.
have, we have two different types of operations going on.
Yeah.
I think that the rabbi can clarify a lot of that for you. I don't think that I'm doing the best job for you right now, so I think that if we can have him answer that question, I think that'll help clear up a lot of the
I'm sure
operational
you can help with
components.
the traffic information.
All right, so his answer is the rabbi,
We'll later
when it's
tell
her time, when it's his time to testify, you'll be able to ask more questions on the process. Thank you for your question.
Hi, Luis Lopez, 51 Homer Street, right next door.
Please raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
51 Homers, right next door. There's poor fence, about 4 feet high. What are you guys gonna do about that fence? Oh, there's gonna be separation between my grass and the asphalt, the road, where the cars are gonna come in and out.
Yeah, I'm having trouble understanding the question. I don't know if there's. So which house are you?
51.
Is that
Right.
this guy? Okay, right behind.
Oh, so there's gonna be grass.
Is this grass, landscaping? The trees as well.
Sir, for the benefit of the board, so we could hear the conversation, if you could ask questions from the microphone, that would be ideal.
I'll come over to you.
Okay, so what's this distance right here from here to here?
Just for
And
the
to the-
purposes of the
Yeah, so-
record.
Yeah, could you just please explain what
Right,
he's
so
referring
for-
to when in
Right,
your
so
answer
for the
to it?
purposes of the record, he's confirmed that I'm correct. You're asking for the distance from the curb line
Yeah, the
of
curb line.
our one-way drive aisle to the side property line of 51 Homer. And that appears to be, at the low point, appears to be about 8 feet, and that as you get closer to the sidewalk in the front of your property, expands to about 12 to 15 feet of space between our drive aisle and your property line.
Okay, and so you're saying there's people that were gonna come here, they're not gonna park in front of my house, or what's?
Correct. So the on-site parking supply here provides adequate parking to support the full operation of our development. There's no need for parking on Homer Street, Cherry Street, or even Main Avenue.
Right. I don't know if it's a question for you. Where's the loading deck?
So there's a loading bay. It is a 6-foot stripe loading bay near the
Right
Homer
next to
Street
my
exit.
house.
Right, so the loading operations are very infrequent, right? It happens during the day, it's not gonna happen overnight when you're trying to sleep, all part of.
And the
you know, normal
dumpsters
activity
for the
nights.
garbage, where is it gonna be?
Right, so the garbage location is toward
In the back of my house?
The garbage location is I'm trying to say it correctly for the record
Yeah, that's
here.
the back of my house.
Yeah, you can call it the rear of 51 Union.
What time are you guys picking up the garbage? I seen them
All
5
right, so-
o'clock in the morning.
So I'm not sure those questions are questions for the parking expert. So if you can, just please keep it to his testimony.
I can discuss garbage pickup timing, right? What typically happens at the facility is that timing would happen after the morning drop-off period. So potentially 10 a.m., certainly not going to happen at 5 a.m. or any overnight period, and we could stipulate as such.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Leave the picture there. Henry Chelazinski. Previously, I asked the architect about removing that little bump out and pushing the setback of this entire school building back a few feet. He said he had no problem doing it, could be easily accomplished. By removing this here, how does that affect that Bermuda Triangle of traffic you say exists over here? Is that will that improve the sight line and improve traffic safety?
Right, so the sight lines that we look at for turning out from Homer onto Main Avenue are based on Passaic County requirements, which are, again, based on engineering practices, industry standards. But the point being that the line of sight necessary for those turns does not encroach onto that chamfer out of the building.
Well, you have this shrubbery over here.
Those are trees that have a higher canopy so you can see under.
Okay.
But
What,
continue.
what is the speed limit on this piece of Main Avenue?
It's 35 miles an hour.
35. Okay, so you're saying this car coming at 40 miles an hour, this car coming out in that Bermuda Triangle of traffic that the county is so fond of referring to, none of this is going to interfere with the line of sight?
Correct, correct. That chamfer out of the building doesn't interfere with the line of sight. Removal of it or otherwise is architectural in nature. It doesn't have an impact on traffic, safety, and circulation.
The architect already stated that he had no problem removing it, maybe even pushing the setback of the building back a couple feet. Would that improve the line of sight?
You could theoretically
That's
provide,
a yes or no.
provide a longer line of sight.
It will improve the line of sight, correct? Yes or no?
Not in any way that results in a safety improvement. Right? It becomes, right, the line of sight needed doesn't interfere with that point.
I come out to here. All right, there's things here. Plus we have parking on Main Avenue. I have to come out to here. This car is in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and let's be realistic, it's doing at least 40 miles an hour.
Right, and we account for that with that, but continue.
I come out, you're going to say that if this wasn't pushed back, if this bump out here wasn't here, I could see the line of sight from here much better than having to pull all the way out. Any place you go in town where you have the shrubbery plus the street, you end up having to creep out and your front end ends up out in traffic. All I'm asking for, and you did say it'll improve it, you claim not significantly, why can't we eliminate that? Eliminate this? We're already creating traffic problems on Homer Street with the exit going out there. We could push this whole building back a little bit and improve the traffic safety. Neighbors are already going to the Traffic Safety Council in town, complaining about the Main Avenue traffic, the speed. They looked at lowering the speed limit. Again, the county said, no, we can't lower the speed limit. The speed limit is what it is. We're looking at you to help fix some of this problem instead of making the problem worse.
Sure, I understand.
So, well, just let me intervene for a second. We're going to have our engineer has chimed in on this, and if it's problematic sight line, we're going to know, right? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Yes.
Vice Chairman, the applicant has testified that the County of Passaic has reviewed the site triangles. I'll ask the applicant, are you putting any sign or shrubbery that is going to be in the Ashto or Passaic County line of sight?
No.
Is the line of sight respected, and has it been reviewed by Passaic County?
Yes.
So you have met your burden with respect to a 35-mile-an-hour Main Ave free flow condition for a stop intersection and a line of sight thereof?
Correct. We use 40-mile-an-hour design speed to accommodate for 5-mile-an-hour over that drivers tend to drive, but yes.
So then, what the neighbor or the interested party is asking, the incremental increase in moving, the incremental safety increase of moving the building to the east is not getting the benefit that you would have because you've already met the burden to provide the line of sight. To provide an infinite line of sight, of course, is the, you know, the argument in the absurd. If the building wasn't there, you could see all the way down to Route 3, right? This is not what they have to do. What they have to do is meet the Passaic County line of sight, which is aggressive, and it's enforced, and they've met it.
What was the next question? It's an aggressive burden that they put on the applicant. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Can you show me where the designated loading area, unloading area is for the trucks here?
Right, so that loading area is near the Homer Street access point in
That
this
would
striped
be
area.
this?
Correct.
How long is that?
It's 40 feet.
40 feet. So you could technically put a 40-foot tractor trailer in there, couldn't you?
It'd be a challenging maneuver.
Okay, you could put a 36-foot tractor trailer in there without much of a challenge, couldn't you?
I don't know that I agree with that, but
Mr. Chairman, the board would put into a stipulation, Henry, that there would be no tractor trailers, only box trucks and vans.
Right.
They would
but-
do that. And then it would be enforced then by our zoning officer.
Yes. We seem to stipulate an awful lot, but trying to get the stipulations, you know, adhered to. When you have a 40-foot spot and you tell me 18-foot box trucks are going to go in there, you know what? I could make this delivery with one truck instead of two. And that's what it comes down to.
Appreciate your feedback and observations, but let's keep it to the
Well,
questions.
that's
Yeah.
what I asked. How big is it, 40-foot, and whether a 40-foot tractor trailer could fit?
Through the chair, there's
Graviano.
there's no such thing as a 40-foot tractor trailer. So, you know, there's box trucks and vans, and tractor trailers are, you know, a lot longer than that. Additionally, I think at the next hearing, when we have the rabbi here, he could explain a little bit more the type of deliveries they get to the site. You know, for a school, you know, it's not a retail use, which, you know, a retail use is permitted in a zone. You know, you could expect tractor trailers for that type of use, but typically you don't see those type of vehicles in a school use.
Well, a 40-foot tractor trailer is called a pup. And you would have it here because you have cooking on site. You have a cafeteria. You have Cisco. You have whatever food company is servicing it, janitorial supplies, paper, school supplies. 160 students, they're not bringing their own
But-
sheets of paper, their own toilet paper, their own...
I understand
Mr.
that
Clean.
concern, but the applicant also has the ability to use vendors that meets the vehicle needs of this
No.
site, so.
Okay.
I think it's on, the onus is gonna be on the school to demonstrate that they can meet, you know,
No.
those vehicle demands.
It's my hope that they certainly do. The biggest problem I have is with exiting off of Homer Street onto Main Avenue, and especially with a 70-foot width, trying to make a left onto Main Avenue with a limited sight line, it's dangerous.
Well, as the board engineer and the applicant's engineer, which are licensed professionals, indicated, Passaic County felt that this was an adequate design for the site, so the board does not have the ability to make decisions on unsubstantiated claims by non-professionals, so.
Oh, thank you.
No, I'm just saying, you have two licensed professionals in the county of Passaic, you know, saying this is an adequate design. I think you would have to put forth testimony by a licensed engineer contrary to that, and, you know, we haven't seen that, so.
There are professionals and there are residents, and when the residents go through the motions, do the driving every day, I think that usurps the professional's opinion, because this gentleman comes in, looks at this, does a few sketches, puts in the Bermuda Triangle, goes to the county engineer's got 100 plans on his desk, he says, okay, but nobody lives here that's signing off on this. Everybody's collecting a paycheck, but nobody's living here.
Let's keep this to the questions of the board.
Okay,
and to
well-
the traffic expert. And please be mindful, at this board here, you know, we're all residents here too. And we are concerned about the residents. That's why we're asking the questions we are. That's why we're we're doing what we're doing. And that, all of these things will be taken into consideration, and I appreciate your questions.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Kelly Eckert, Edgewood Avenue.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the city of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I will.
Thank you.
Eckert, E-C-K-E-R-T, and my first name is Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y. So you talked about 140 to 160 students, and I think we talked about 10 educators?
Correct.
And 8 carpools?
Right.
Times 3 trips, or?
No, the carpool, so there's several breakdowns to the educators. It basically comes down to secondary and post-secondary schooling, right? So we have 80 students within the secondary school and the high school level. Those are the students who commute to and from the school each day. Those are the students involved in the carpools. But a majority of those students walk or bike to the campus. They don't actually participate in those carpools. So those carpools may have 3 or 4, if not more students in them, and it's only one trip that a carpool needs to make.
Okay. Do you know where the numbers between 140 and 160 students came from? Do you know where that range comes from?
Our site plan and the information we provide and the information I've testified to relates to the 140, relates to 80 in the secondary and 60 in the post-secondary.
Okay.
I know there was earlier testimony from the architect, I believe, who gave that range. But at this point, the numbers that we've prepared are based on that 140.
Do we think that there will ever be more than 140 children at the school?
I would have to defer that question
Yeah,
to
let's
the rabbi.
keep
It's
the
operational.
testimony, the questions, please, to the traffic expert's testimony.
Okay, well, the
Thank
reason
you.
I asked that question is because you made your professional determinations based on 140.
Correct.
Correct. So when the fire subcode official comes in and says that you could fit way more than 160 students in this school, what happens then? Because your professional determination is telling us that this is all going to work out based on 140 children, but it's a 40,000 square foot building. Once the fire subcode official comes in and says, oh no, you can have this many children, would that change your determination, I guess? If the fire subcode official said you could fit 310 students in the building, does your professional opinion still stand when you made it based on 140 children?
Right,
Through
so
the chair.
typically with,
Mr. Graviano.
This is a question that's based somewhat in the variance relief that the applicant's requesting before the board this evening. Certainly with the relief that the applicant is requesting, the board could certainly put conditions on the approval that could limit the amount of students that go to this school. That would be in the resolution. The applicant would be bound to that student count.
Right, so
So
would
although the building could hold more students, this board certainly has the authority to put a student limit on the school.
So is that something that the applicant would stipulate to, that 140 number? I guess is the question.
Well, that's a good question. It's a fabulous question, but it's not the question for this.
No, okay,
Yeah.
apologies. But I just wanted to make sure I understood. Your professional determination was made on 140 students. And how many educators?
it was 10 staff.
So 140 students and 10 staff. That's how your determination came. Okay.
Those are the numbers provided on our site plan. Those are the numbers provided within our traffic impact study.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to our planner, the occupancy load for any building is determined by the fire department to get the CO. Who supersedes that now? Stipulations we impose on them to only have 160 students? What if they
Yes.
say it's 300, the building can fit 300?
Now, while the building could accommodate more students per design, this board certainly has the ability to limit the number of students based on the relief that the applicant is requesting this evening, specifically, the parking variance.
Thank you.
We're going to carry this
Vice Chair,
application.
can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right question to him. I don't see a 40,000 square foot building. I see 15,284. How does that come to 40,000?
Testimony was 40,000 square feet by the architect. I believe that was his testimony.
I believe that's gross square feet of.
So it's a two-story building, so then you're doubling it. 15 times 2 is 30.
Well, there's 15 plus you have the dormitory buildings.
There's 2 buildings.
Okay, got it.
So this, yeah.
Got it.
So we will carry this, Leanna, when will we carry this to?
Does January 4th work for you guys?
January 4th?
Does that work?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
We will carry this to January 4th, no further notice. For any interested parties in this courtroom, January 4th, no further notice.
Resolutions.
We'll go over our resolutions now. TFJ Hazel LLC, 252 Hazel Street and 237 West 3rd. Denied use variance and bulk variances to erect 3-story mid-rise 54-unit multifamily residential building.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Molnar.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Silva. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan,
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar,
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas. The resolution has been adopted.
1041 Paulson LLC, 1041 Paulson Ave, granted preliminary and final site plan approval with associated C&D variances to utilize the site for auto accessories installation garage.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved by DeStefano.
Second.
Second by Soshan.
Commissioner
Roll
Jaskol,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan,
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar,
Yes.
Commissioner DeStefano.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
The resolution has been adopted.
Maria Quarantino, 9 Sheridan Ave, granted use variance for Herbalife Life Store with kitchen to prepare shakes.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Molnar.
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeStefano. Roll call.
Commissioner Gurkhoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan,
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar,
Yes.
Commissioner DeStefano.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
The resolution has been adopted.
Moken Yenman Corporation, 441 Crooks Ave, granted a variance for coffee shop, off-street parking, and approval to close in rear balcony.
So moved,
patio
Mr.
area.
Chair.
So moved by Commissioner Fukas, seconded by Commissioner Gurkhoff.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Gurkhoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan,
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar,
Yes.
Commissioner DeStefano.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
The resolution has been adopted.
Motion to.
Motion to
approve.
adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
No, hold on one second, please. We have one other action item, and that's the legal notice for the 2023 meetings. Just need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion by.
Motion to approve?
By Commissioner Gurkhoff.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Silva. Motion to approve minutes
So moved.
by Commissioner Soshan, second by Fukas.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Meeting adjourned.